Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 277th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me this evening we have Dave the Hater Lowback, Andy Patterson, and Ozzy Smith. We're going to have a bit of preview action coming up later. That probably will dominate the majority of the show, but a Crawford Horn, Leo Santa Cruz, MARES rematch is going on, Tyson Fury, Flanagan Hooker. Bellew of the Weeks will finish up as well. We're going to have two guests, hopefully shoehorned in during the course of the evening. And we're going to start off with a few questions that people have sent to us over the weekend or over the week and whatever. It was slim pickings at the weekend, actually. I am going to go through a few fights that I know Andy watched a couple of fights, but before we do so, you were telling us off air there, Ozzy, before we started, there was a big win over the weekend that I certainly wasn't aware of, and some of our listeners might not be aware of. What was going on that I was oblivious to, Ozzy?
Well, I'll just go into a little bit. I think it's fair to say he can adopt the nickname, the Road Warrior now. He is. It is London via way of Blackburn's finest. Prince Patel increased his record now to 15-0 with the fine win over Georgia's finest, Jabber Memeshishi, in the Hungarian Sports Hall. So the Prince, he's on an excellent winning run at the moment. He's conquering all of the Eastern Europeans in Hungary, Georgia, odd Ukrainian as well. And I've got to admit, I think he's one to watch in the bantamweight division now. He's got a world ranking. We all know what that means. So I think the Prince is there to be. He's the one to watch.
Where do you think we're going to be seeing him next? Maybe Lithuania, Macedonia. Where's he going to turn up?
Who knows? Who knows? I think it's finding it difficult for him to get opponents at the moment. So he just goes where the people want to fight him, and he's knocking them out cold and coming out with the wins.
I know where he turned up. The fucking WBO World Rankings at number 10.
Yeah, well, what can I say, Andy? These are the wins over. Let me just get the names up now. We've got, like I say, Michiko Shubitsi, Zolt Coxis on debut, Vinjamins Divos in the Olympic Sports Centre in Riga, Armet Kurisac, Eriks Kolosovs, Alexander Sebakovs, Robert Canales, Richard Vruz, Zolt Sarkozy, and Christian Hovarth all equivalent to a WBO top 10 ranking.
Eastern European murderers, row killers, boys, eh? Jesus Christ.
Well, what can I say? The Prince hitting the headlines for all the right reasons.
Congratulations to the Prince from everybody, I think. And I mean, why wouldn't you mention that on a weekend that there pretty much wasn't a great deal of action? The Prince is the standout. Let's have a look at some of the things that did go on. Like I said, Andy saw a few bits of interest. If anybody else has anything they want to add that they didn't see, then let me know. But we have cards over in Germany. Arthur Mann up at cruiserweight got a win over Alexander Pale. Mann was 13-0, Pale was 10-0, so two unbeaten prospects going at it for a minor title there. Krzysztof Wlodarczyk, Diablo, he's had about 60 fights now. He went in against Duradola, beat him by unanimous decision over 10 rounds. In a big battle in Australia on Friday night, we had Blake Caparello sensationally knocking out Trent Broadhurst in the first round of their fight. Michael Zarafa, stripper extraordinaire, also getting a win as well. Jaron Ennis won in the second round against Mike Arnautis. I know me and Andy were just mentioning him in a Punches from the Past recently. He's still going. He's 26-11-2 now, getting knocked out by 19-0 Jaron Ennis over the weekend. And also Robin Krasniqi won the vacant European super middleweight title over Stanislav Kashtanov. When I said it was slim pickings, Andy, I certainly wasn't lying. What did you see of that lot?
Right, I saw the sad cases. Message you there, actually, Michael Sprott getting stopped there last night in 2 rounds.
29.
Yep, that's what I think. I think it's his last 7 fights. He's been stopped in all bar 1, and that started off with AJ. So that's about 4 years ago, whatever it was. I was kind of flicking back and forward between Krasniqi and Kashtanov, which was for the vacant European title. It's basically 2 guys at the crossroads. Kashtanov he looked shot to me, actually, in all honesty. Imar Kukar, he defeated Roman Sakrupa. He's a kind of aged kind of Ukrainian fighter. He's not really got a lot of power, this Kukar, even though he's 11-0 now, super middleweight. He's going to find it really hard as he goes up in levels, and that he's going to really struggle. That was for the vacant EBU external super middleweight title there last night. So there's a wee title watch for you guys. Arthur Mann decent fighter. Could be European champion, definitely at cruiserweight. Again, I don't know if he's got the power to sustain himself against the top guns. And the other person I did get to see was Abbas Baroua. He's 2-0 now. That was for the German title. He fought there last night for. He was fighting at light middleweight, but he's actually going to be. I would think he need to fight at welterweight. Good amateur back in the day. He has got this kind of tendency, a kind of sweet pea whittaker about him sometimes, but obviously not as good as sweet pea. And the other thing as well is the lack of power again might be a problem for him, but he's definitely one to watch. Abbas Baroua, definitely European champion level material, definitely there. So maybe the Germans might have something to pick up on in the coming months and years and stuff. And as for Diablo against Duradola, I watched that fight. Even though I think Diablo's done, maybe shot, Duradola's clearly done as well. But I think it was just the fact is that Vidalchik's got a better technical skill to his boxing compared to Duradola, who's just purely kind of blood and guts and that. So in the end, he won a comfortable decision there. So that's the boxing that I saw this weekend, mate.
Cheers, Andy. I must confess I didn't see a stitch of boxing all weekend. Thanks for that quick rundown there. I'm going to be going to Hater Dave Lowback very shortly to discuss the news that broke earlier that Billy Joe Saunders has pulled out of his fight. Where does he go from here? Dave's going to speculate on that. Before we do so, I've got a question for you, Ozzy. You weren't here last week, so I'm going to lead you in on a bit of McDonnell Inoue talk from Liam Wynn. He says, question for the pod, Ozzy. In light of Jamie McDonnell looking completely drained at the weight last week, who is the pod's shout-out for looking the worst of the scales in terms of being drained? Was it Gill when he fought Cotto? Bellew when he fought Stevenson? Who do you think, Ozzy? I was thinking Brandon Rios has had a few Holocaust moments, hasn't he? So talk about McDonnell's weight, throw in any other weight victims, and then obviously lead on to McDonnell Inoue, which you weren't here to talk about last week.
In terms of, I think the ones mentioned were pretty good examples, actually. I forgot about Bellew against Stevenson, and him. I mean, he looked horrendous. I remember seeing an interview with him, and basically he was putting on pounds, you know, when he was having like sips of water and stuff like that. And it was a couple of days before, and he was just eating like one chicken breast just to keep the weight off. I mean, I've got to admit, I think McDonnell is up there. He looked horrendous, absolutely horrendous. He looked aged. He looked like a crack addict who'd been on the drugs for God knows how long. He just looked awful. Apparently, he delayed at the weigh-in by an hour and a bit as well. So they were obviously just trying to get those last few ounces off and things like that. And ultimately, I don't think it would have made a big difference. However, I think him looking so shot at the weight obviously did. I mean, what did he put on? 2 stone? Not in like proper weight. That's just dehydration in water. And in my opinion, I think these like the governing bodies really need to be looking at things like this now, because how is that safe? I think you've got to ask questions of Caldwell, things like that. Why are you allowing your man to go in that ring? It's been spoke about for years now that Jamie McDonnell is tight at the bantamweight. I thought when he was against Solis first time round, he struggled with the weight then, and I thought he lost the fight. An actual robbery benefited me because I made some cash from the bookies. He made the weight again against Solis, only for the fight to be called off because of a cut. So essentially a bit of a wasted camp, really, because it was so early in the fight. He then gets this opportunity to box Inoue, who's coming up in the weight. Claims he'd never heard of the guy and he was going out there to win and stuff like that. But in reality, did he ever stand a chance? Slim to nothing. I thought it was going to be more competitive pre-fight until I saw McDonnell on the scales, and it was horrendous. And it says it all now that he's not even going up to super bantam. He's going straight up to featherweight. I think the guy's, 5'10"? Getting him down to about 8 and a bit stone. It's unbelievable how he's ever done it. And it'll be interesting to see now he'll look unbelievable up at featherweight because he's not cutting so much. Whether he'll have any success, I'm not too sure. Not the biggest of punchers anyway. So what will he be like up at feather? He's got the height and things like that. We'll wait and see, really. But no, it wasn't good to watch. I mean, I didn't even think he took any real like big shots, to be honest. I just think he was so weight drained, and it made the fight utterly pointless, really. And it's not what you want to see. I mean, you see it in the UFC a lot. guys they're basically skeletons taking so much weight off. And I think in situations like that, boxing is similar with McDonnell, literally just trying to make the weight probably for a payday. And something more needs to be done because people's lives are at risk here. And if they're so dehydrated and weight drained, it only takes one shot and they're gone. And it could be curtains for them. So no, it's good to see him move up. How will he do? I'm not too sure. I think we'll need to see him at that weight for a start. He won't be in with anybody good, as always, when Hearn's guys are moving up in the weight. But we'll wait and see. In a way, I don't think he needed to announce himself. If you follow the sport, you're well aware of this guy. And he's quite rightly the favourite at the bantamweight World Boxing Super Series. And I think it's fair to say those guys in that tournament aren't wanting to face him unless it's in the final where you've probably got millions of dollars on the line.
Yeah, just looking at guys who are weight drained, Waleed in the chat says that Rios against John Murray looked pretty bad. Yep, I remember that one. He certainly did. Tommy tells a good story as well. Hey to Dave Lowback, forget about that. Let's get on to the news from Billy Joe Saunders pulling out for the second time against Martin Murray. Back in the chat, Dennis Simpson said they hadn't even sold 2,000 tickets. Fact, I can well believe that, Dennis. Frank Warren tweeted out earlier, hater, due to an injury suffered by Billy Joe Saunders, unfortunately has had to withdraw from his June the 23rd fight with Martin Murray at the O2 Arena. A full statement on the show will be made tomorrow. What's the Saunders situation? Are you disappointed that he's not going to be fighting Murray? Where's Saunders going from here? Is he in line for a shot at one of the big boys, Dave? What's the story?
It was a crap fight, so who cares? It's no loss at all that it's canceled. Maybe we'll get the honor of seeing Martin Murray, Gabe Rosado too, if we're lucky. But Billy Joe, I mean, does anyone believe that he's actually injured? I mean, it's either the ticket thing or that Frank wants to send him somewhere else, right? Because no one cares about this fight. Like I thought before, does Golovkin have anything scheduled? Does Frank want to get him in that? They possibly negotiating behind the scenes there. They'd have to be pretty far along if he pull him out of this fight. Regardless, I couldn't care less that the fight is canceled. And and when Billy Joe shows up, when he gets on TV and he puts on a good performance like he did against Lemieux, I'll care about him. I'll watch him. But otherwise, I don't care. I wouldn't have watched this Murray crap, and I'm not going to watch him fight another Agamov or whatever the hell that guy's name was. So it's down to them if they want me to be interested in their fighter.
Andy, brief comment from you on this as well. I mean, even though I wasn't interested in the fight whatsoever, it is a little bit harsh on Murray. He thinks he's getting the payday once, twice. I mean, hamstring injury were being talked about. My first impression was that obviously they've got like a Golovkin or a Canelo nailed down. I don't believe it for a second. I think the tickets are helping to push the decision along as well. I mean, what are you suspecting is going on here?
Who knows, mate? I mean, if it's true that ticket sales are not going great, then it probably makes financial sense to pull the fight. I know, I agree with Dave. I wasn't wanting to see the fight. I understand why it happened. It's a kind of tune-up, keep busy fight, so to speak, for Saunders whilst he waited for the Golovkin-Canelo winner until all the shit hit the fan. Would not surprise me, actually, if there was some sort of clause in the contract of the fight against Murray that allowed him, if the opportunity came along for Golovkin-Canelo, that he could pull out with no financial penalty. Who knows? But you would think, when's it Saunders fought again? Was it December? So he's going to need a fight. He's going to need a fight actually in the next next 2 to 3 months and stuff. I mean, he's been looking in fantastic shape. Some people did say that he didn't look in great shape leading up to this fight, which, considering how he's kind of semi-changed his life around about, so to speak, in his career, and that he's been looking in the best of shape, and that, so you would think he would probably try and maintain that, knowing he's got big money fights coming up and stuff, and then he can retire and get fat as he wants. But who knows? All I know is this: I wasn't happy to see the Martin Murray fight. He said this would have been his 5th attempt at world title. So again, I'm not fussed about it, but at the end of the day, we've got to have Saunders fighting Golovkin or Canelo next. To be honest, I think they'll go for Canelo. I think Golden Boy will offer him good money, more money than that he would go to fight Golovkin, just so they can get that WBO title, and it gives him a bit of not that he doesn't need bargaining position with Golovkin, but it gives him that wee bit extra as well. If he wants to be the unified, undisputed champion, that then Canelo or Saunders in this case would be the last man standing with the title that Golovkin apparently wants.
The chat aren't buying the injuries, Ozzy. They're saying that they think Saunders has been guaranteed a big fight at some point in the future. I thought that after the first pullout, to be honest with you, and then maybe things didn't go to plan, and then they made the second one. They seem to be stringing Murray along, don't they, for want of a better option?
Yeah, and it's a shame, really. I think the board should be doing something about this in a sense that Martin Murray gone out to Tenerife twice, getting himself in shape and things like that. And I think people forget that, obviously, these are costs that fighters are incurring, which ultimately will be paid back when they fight and they get paid the purse. Very poor. I mean, we get Frank banging on now about Frank for the fans warrant, and this is the second time he's rescheduled a show now. I don't think we'll see this show again. And it's people who are buying tickets, hotels, things like that, and the potentially if they're booking them up front, they've not got the late cancellation, they're losing cash there. I mean, they'll probably they will get the ticket money back, but it's not the point really. And it's one thing you don't see from Matchroom is they don't pull shows as often as Frank does, and it all seems too comfortable. Now, I completely understood the Martin Murray fight. It was a keep busy one. It was on paper relatively comfortable, and it kept Billy Joe active, leading into a potential big fight with Golovkin or Saunders. Golovkin or Canelo, sorry. Now, we've seen the negotiations break down, so I think between Saunders and Frank, they've thought, right, well, we don't need to fight here. We don't need to do anything silly, risk any injuries or anything like that, or a potential defeat, and we will sit, wait, and go for basically one or the other. I agree with Andy. I think they'll go for the Canelo fight. I think they could get Golovkin over here, and I think it would sell really well. But I think they'll get more cash from going over. I think they fancy the chances against Canelo as well. Whether they get that decision, I'm not too sure. But we'll wait and see. But very, very disappointing. I mean, ultimately, boxing relies on the fans and ticket sales. And when you get shows pulled like this, things like that, it does make you wonder that when a new show goes on sale, do you gamble and get a ticket straight away? Or do you wait and essentially buy it on fight week? And it's not something you want to see, and sadly it is the same promoters committing the same offences all the time, pulling shows. Injuries happen, completely agree with that, nothing against it, but when it's happening 3 or 4 times a year, the injury just seems to become an easy excuse, and in reality I don't believe it at all.
Do you think then, Ozzy, almost it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy? People are like, oh, it's a Frank show, we better be careful here, better not book anything up. And then in turn, all of his shows have only got like a couple of thousand because of that reason.
Yeah, and I do that. Now, I know next week the Tyson Fury show will sold really well. It did 9,000 tickets in the first week. Now, when I got told those figures, I was gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked. Because I thought they'd struggle to do this, particularly at the MEN as well. But fair play to them. It's now up to just under 15,000 tickets. Now, I think that is a real good effort for Fury's first comeback against utter shite. Undercard's excellent, but we'll talk about that later. So I thought that the shows are selling. And to be fair, he has been putting on good shows, particularly with the undercards as well. But yeah, I agree. When you do see things like that and people think, oh, it's a Frank show, do we take the risk? Particularly, in like it was a bigger arena than the O2. It wasn't the Copper Box, so a bigger capacity, more tickets to sell. Do they take the punt? And in reality, I think a lot of fans think, why bother now? It's costing us money when the show's cancelled because, like I said, prepaid train tickets, hotels, things like that. Why would you run the risk for your hard-earned cash when ultimately there is no guarantee that that show will go ahead?
And this, Ozzy, final point as well. This is why I believe, I know people seem to think that if Golovkin comes over, I do believe Golovkin would come over to fight Billy Joe Saunders for want of better options. But this problem would rear its ugly head again. People automatically assume it'd be a sellout stadium fight as a given in this current climate with Frank's problems at the moment, with Saunders, Golovkin. I don't necessarily think that they would sell things out quite as easily as they think.
It's not a stadium fight. Billy Joe doesn't have the backing. It would sell out the O2 because I think a lot of people would want to watch it. And I think it would have I think Golovkin sells himself, and I think it's a great fight. I know a lot of people that will go and buy tickets. A stadium, no chance. Absolutely no chance. And I think I don't know what goes on in the camps there where they think like it's the fashion now, isn't it? That we'll have it in a stadium or something like that. And whilst Saunders Golovkin on paper is a great fight, it doesn't have the casual pull where it will go and do 35,000, like Josh Warrington did, where he sold 20-odd thousand literally on his own at Ellen Road. With Saunders, I can't see that happening at all. It's not a stadium fight. The O2 would be ample. I think that could be BT's first venture into pay-per-view. Saunders Golovkin, all the middleweight belts. Will people begrudge paying that if the undercard's decent? Probably not. You would get cash from there. You would expect it to do, 18.5, 19,000, whatever the O2 holds. But I can't see that. But what we do need to see is that you've got to look at people like Dubois and Yard on the undercard. These guys haven't fought since what? Was it February? They had an outing at York Hall. It's going to be cancelled again. You've then got the summer break for when the new season starts. These guys have got 7 months out the ring now, so whether we'll see them rescheduled, I mean, Yard, he didn't even have an opponent, so what's the fucking point? But Dubois was in a decent step up, but no, it's been, after a real good start with his BT launch last year for Frank, I think 2018 has been nothing short of pretty much a disappointment. We've seen a couple of shows cancelled now. The Frampton Donaire card was great, yeah, applaud that, but what can you remember after that? You've got Fury coming up next week. I think that's a decent show. And I think the Conlon show as well in Belfast as well. I think the undercard's great. I think it's a good fight for Conlon as well. So you've got those two. But that's all he's done and nothing else. And you've got to wonder, is he getting a bit from BT as well? Like thinking, fucking hell, this is another show gone. This is our scheduling again. So we're going to wait and see, but I think Frank needs a big second half to the summer. Otherwise, he can bang on all he wants about how we're rivals and things like that. We're challenging Matchroom. But the way you keep cancelling shows, you will never challenge them because people will not have the trust in you to buy tickets.
Well said, Ozzy. We're delighted to have Donny Baseball on the line. It's always good to hear from you, Donny. I was going to ask you a question there, but before we do so, I believe you're itching to get stuck in on this Krzysztof Wlodarczyk, Oli Dorodola fight from Poland last night. What's the latest, Donny?
I was waiting for the Twitter questions. Really, that's no, I didn't. If it wasn't on television, I wasn't actively seeking out the streams last night. So
fuck off then.
Pardon?
I says, well, fuck off then.
Well, Steve always tells me to come on. Anyways,
I know.
We're only messing with you, Donald. We love you.
No, that's all right. I'll be listening in, trying out some new power tools right now, but I'll be ready when you have something that isn't specific to this past weekend's fight.
Well, don't get running off too quickly, Driller Killer, because I've got a question here for you from Grant Riley. You listening?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Grant Riley is asking you, Donny, with Deontay Wilder talking about moving to cruiserweight after the Anthony Joshua fight, could the panel talk about how much of a lesson Usyk would give him? The levels of boxing ability between the two is worlds apart. If Deontay Wilder, Donny, moves down to cruiserweight, what's going to happen between him and the likes of Usyk?
Well, to be fair, actually, if you watch that video, he's not actually talking about moving down to cruiserweight. He said that because he can get basically, cut weight and rehydrate or whatever, he wants to be able to rule over both divisions at one time. Talking about, unifying the heavyweight crown and then moving down to cruiserweight, and not defending the heavyweight title. He's saying, I can fight the heavyweights and I could also cut down, to cruiserweight and defend titles there. I think he wants two divisions. I don't know if that's just some thought that maybe probably shouldn't have been tweeted out. It sounds kind of ridiculous in my mind. I know he isn't a particularly large heavyweight weight-wise. He's kind of, kind of wiry in his build. He's got those thin legs, which probably isn't a good thing for heavyweight. But anyways, I think it's interesting. If he wanted to try to maintain the heavyweight crown and also fight cruiserweights. That'd be very interesting. I'm not exactly sure that Usyk gives him a lesson, though, because, I mean, Usyk would be dealing with a whole lot of man in there and a guy who, I mean, yeah, Usyk probably rounds, but what happens when Deontay Wilder detonates that right hand?
That's the question, Donny. That's what I was thinking too. If Wilder lands that punch on you, we've seen him spark heavyweights clean out as an orthodox and as wild as he is. You could imagine him hitting a cruiserweight and doing some real damage, Donny.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if he's putting out much larger men with that punch, I mean, why wouldn't we think it's possible to put out smaller men with it?
That's okay. Yeah, just muted myself. I'll just talk to myself, Andy. Nobody listening. I'm chatting away here. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. What I was saying was, I will try and get our first guest on for the evening, and while I do so, I'm going to ask Andy to hit us up with this question from Robert Digital. This is for you, Andy. It came in quite early, and a lot of our listeners and Twitter followers and stuff seem to enjoy it. He said, "Who would you consider to be the man in each division, almost like a Boxing Asylum Lineal title? To be honest, boys, I think a Nuthouse Lineal title would be more credible than a Ring Magazine title nowadays. Keep it up, great pod." So what Mr. Digital's asking here, Andy, quite simple. Who do you consider to be the man in each division? Who is the Boxing Asylum's Lineal titleist from heavyweight down? Have you got the list up, the rankings up in front of you, no doubt?
I just pulled them up there as soon as you asked the question, but I'll go for heavyweight first if you want. Okay, Lineal champ will probably need to call it vacant, seeing as Fury's no fought in a while. Cruiserweight, I would probably leave that vacant as well. We know that title's getting contested. Light heavyweight, probably need to be Stevenson, I suppose. The lineage. Super middleweight. It's a bit. I'm going to go for the winner between Groves and Smith. Although it's up for debate because you've got De Gale, Ramirez, and Benavidez. Again, you could also say that title could be vacant, but you could have a consensus number one, which would probably be George Groves. Middleweight, you've got Canelo. He is the lineal champion, believe it or not. Light middleweight, again, this is the one that needs to be kind of unified, but I'll go for Jarrett Hurd as the consensus number one, seeing as a unified champ. Welterweight, this one gave me a wee bit of a problem actually, because obviously you've got Crawford coming up, who's never fought at the weight. I suppose if you want to go through true lineage, you could say Jeff Horn as a lineal champ, because I don't know if it was, when was Pacquiao Mayweather games? Was that 2017?
That was
16,
2015. And
15?
No,
Was
it 15? So
yeah.
Pacquiao would have came back after that. He'd have won. He'd have picked up a title. I think it would be Jeff Horn would probably be considered as the lineal champ at welterweight, but I need to go away and double check that one. What about now light welterweight?
Yep.
Light welter, again, vacant title. There's no consensus number one, I think, in my opinion. There's two vacant titles at the weight. Kirill Relic isn't he what I'd call a number one fighter, and Prograis and Ramirez are interim. So there's a bit of kind of, I think there's going to be also that tournament as well. Can they be pulling in the 140s as well? 135. I'm going to go for Lomachenko. Linares was the ring champion. I think it was for a number of months or a number of years anyway. But I think wasn't the class as a lineal champ because Terence Crawford, I think, was the last one. I think that's right in saying that. Where about now? Lightweight, lightweight. Vacant. Number one contender would probably be Burchell. Featherweight, I would go with Santa Cruz. Again, it's needing to get unified. Super bantamweight, needing to get unified again. Again, there's three champs across that division. Bantamweight again, we're going to get that sorted out within the next year, 18 months anyway. So we'll leave that one. Super flyweight, I'm going to go for Rungvisai. I think that's fair. Gonzalez, Estrada, Arrojo. I mean, he's beat some top fighters, so I think it's fair to say Rungvisai. Flyweight again, it's not had a champion since Gonzalez moved up in weight. I don't think the guys like Rosales and Dalakan and Kimura are consensus #1 fighters, so vacant. Junior flyweight needs to be again unified, but you could say maybe Heike Budler, consensus #1 unified champ. And at minimum weight, I probably need to go for Wang Hing Minayothian, who's 50-0, long-standing WBC champ. But again, another division that needs to be unified. So consensus #1 would be Wang Hing Minayothian.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks for that, Andy. I'm delighted to have our first guest of the evening on the line now. We're joined by Billy Nelson. How are you, Billy?
I'm fine, thanks.
Excellent stuff. Thanks for joining us. We'll get straight to it, Billy. We won't keep you for too long. Next week, big Tyson Fury returns. What are your thoughts on the big man coming back to action after all that, those years out?
I'm looking forward to watching the big guy again. Obviously, he's an excellent fighter. Over 2 years out, it'll be interesting to see how he looks, how his conditioning is, sharpness. I believe before he goes up to the higher levels, he'll need to get maybe at least 3 or 4 fights in, just to get his sharpness, etc., together again. But I'm really looking forward to it.
And yeah, you obviously have a big heavyweight of your own, Mr. Bakoli. Do you want to tell the listeners about him who haven't maybe seen this guy in action, where he's from and what he's all about?
Sure. Martin's for the Democratic Republic of Congo. He's IBO Continental Champion. He's 10-0, 7 knockouts. Personally, he's the best fighter that I've ever trained. Technically, ability-wise, phenomenal. He's a phenomenal fighter. Who, and even just 1 or 2, he's had a slight injury, well, quite a bad injury, but he's back to full fitness now, and get this fight over in June. 3 weeks' time, and then we will fight anybody on the planet really now. No problem.
Is it difficult for a guy like Martin to get him opponents because he's maybe a sort of, the risk-reward ratio and stuff maybe doesn't stack up for some guys who maybe, see themselves on different levels and stuff?
Well, of course it does. Of course it is. If I told you everybody in Britain that knocked back a fight, you wouldn't believe half of them. They talk a good game, but when it comes to the crunch, they'll know what. Listen, the bottom line is he's been down in England and he's done exceptionally well against top guys down there. And word spreads, word spreads down there. Promoters, when they're not willing to risk putting their better fighters in with Martin, and I can understand why, because it will beat everybody in Britain. And there's only 2 guys in Britain who'll give him a fight, and that's Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. That is genuinely the bottom line.
And Billy, the show you mentioned, obviously in a few weeks' time, is a Cyclone show featuring Josh Taylor. How do you think Josh will get on, and how do you think he's been doing so far? He's a phenomenal talent.
Oh, he's a very talented boy. I've known Josh for a good few years. He used to spar Ricky Burns when I trained Ricky Burns. Very difficult fight, it's got to be said, and you've got to take your hat off to Josh. And I think this is only his 13th fight, I believe, to take on somebody like Victor Posso, whose only defeat was against Terence Crawford. I mean, I trained Ricky Burns when he lost to Terence Crawford, and personally, Terence Crawford is the best fighter I've seen live. The guy's phenomenal. His judgment of distance is just fantastic. He'll absolutely destroy Jeff Horn. The more Jeff Horn comes out his shell, the more he's going to get hit hard and continually.
Just maybe, obviously, you have a bit of insight for us there. You trained Ricky up for the Terence Crawford fight. How do you look at a guy like Terence on film and try to look for weaknesses and the process of looking for things that Ricky can do? I mean, it must be really difficult against someone of Crawford's ability to pick those weaknesses and gaps that could be exploited.
You like to think you can find faults in him, but when push comes to shove and you watch him on the night, he has this exceptional talent. He really is. He's up there with the best of them. For me, 3 of the best fighters on the planet just now are Lomachenko, the boy, Errol Spence, and Crawford. are just fantastic. If Lomachenko was just a bit bigger, what a wee round robin that would be between they three, wouldn't it?
It would be excellent, wouldn't it?
Oof.
Those are the type of fights we want to see, isn't it, in boxing?
Well, Jorge, the Lomachenko's last fight, I don't know how many times I've watched it. What a fight! Even the loser can walk with his head so high, and you know, what a fight! Absolutely brilliant by the two of them. Technically, they were fantastic.
Just to remind our listeners, we have Billy Nelson on the call at Billy Nelson Box over on Twitter if you want to get following him. If any of our panel members want to ask Billy any questions, then jump in shortly. Just going back to your stable, Billy, what's the deal with Jason Easton at the moment? Obviously, he had a bit of a tough one recently against Glenn Foote.
He did. Glenn Foote was a dog that wasn't want to get up his bone in the last fight. Full credit to him. We were hoping Jason would be out in June, but that's not going to be the case because he's been suspended due to something that's happened outside the ring, which I can't talk about because it's gone to court. Okay.
And who else is in the gym at the moment? You've obviously worked with Stevie Simmons at times, and you know guys like that. Who else is in the gym with you? Who can you recommend to us? Maybe names we might not have heard of.
David Brophy's he's coming back after an injury. He's going to be fighting in August in Glasgow in an MTK Global show. I'm looking forward to him coming back. He's going to be dropping down to middleweight, where he should have went a long time ago. He was given some bad advice by certain people, and I always knew he was he'd be better as a middleweight than a super middleweight. But he'll be fighting in August, and you know there's some right good fights. I would fancy David to beat give anybody in Britain other than Billy Joe Saunders a great contest at domestic level. I mean, a good fight for David in August would be somebody like Luke Keller, who just beat Conrad Cummins.
Yeah,
that would be a good fight for me for David. But you know, that's entirely up to his team.
Looking down David's record, obviously the two fights that stand out are the two fights that fans may have seen him in against George Groves and Rocky Fielding, and obviously they both didn't go too well. I mean, is that a false representation of David's abilities, would you say?
Aye, in a sense, but he shouldn't be campaigning at super middleweight, in my opinion. Although, you know, he's got to be given a lot of credit as well for his win over in Australia when he beat the world number 5, Zach Dunn, in Melbourne, stopped him in the 7th round. Now, if you can stop a guy that's in the ring, he was 13.5 stone. If David can stop somebody, you know, that weighs as big as that, then surely he can do some damage at middleweight.
Yeah. Anybody on our panel want to ask Billy any questions before we let him go? Anybody? Oh, go ahead, Ozzy.
Yeah, Billy, I've got a question. We see Joe Joyce is back out in the ring in a couple of weeks against, I think, an opponent still to be confirmed for his Commonwealth belt. Is that a fight you've tried for Martin? I know he can't box for the Commonwealth, but is that a fight you've pushed for, and do you think it could happen down the line perhaps in the near future?
Well, with the fullest respect to Joe Joyce and his team, I've offered them the fight three times, you know, and they've just said no. They've actually said to me, we need to go and fight somebody that's a name. Maybe they should have a wee look at Joe Joyce's opponents before they start saying that to other people. Martin Bakole will spark Joe Joyce. He'll end his career. And see, the thing is, they've been told about Martin, and I know they've been told about Martin, so they don't want any. They want to stay well clear. They're shouting at Dave Allen, for goodness sake. You know what I mean? He got beat by an old guy at Sheffield who Joe Joyce beat in 2 rounds. Why are they fighting Dave Allen? They want to fight Dave Allen, or they mentioned Dave Allen's name, who got beat by the guy that they stopped in 2 rounds. Does that make sense to you?
Backward step Billy sort of thing.
Of course it is. Yeah. Fight somebody that's prepared to fight him. Because you mark my words, if and when they meet, he will be beaten. and beaten badly. He's too slow. He's far too slow for Martin. Martin's quicker hand and feet, and punches every bit as hard as him. And they know it, but they know it. So, talk's cheap. Talk's cheap.
Anybody else got any questions for Billy?
I've actually got a couple more, actually. Just building on that then, what sort of opponents have you tried to bring in for the Cyclone show that's coming up for the Taylor one? I saw you mention something that you had a couple of guys who, I think, was it a box for like European titles or something like that? Can you shed any light on those names, or what sort of a caliber you're trying to get in, just to essentially give Martin a world ranking, which then gives him a bit more of a pull, when you're going for the bigger fights against him?
I would like to think I'll know 100% for Tuesday, but the guy we've got in mind, excuse me, has only lost 2 fights in 21, and he's fought for the European title, and he also lost to an undefeated German guy for I think it was a WBO Intercontinental title. So he's got a good record. He's durable, but again, I believe Martin beats him just as comfortably as the 2 guys that have already beat him.
And then one final one. I saw that Martin Bowers spoke about Martin sparring with Daniel Dubois in the build-up to the Tom Little fight. What do you make of Dubois? I know he's young and he's raw of sorts, and I mean, like I said, he's a baby in the game. Do you think he's got the ability to go all the way, or what do you make of him?
Daniel's a young guy, strong. He's improving. I'd like to see him have a good few more fights yet, but we're going down on Wednesday. No, I'll be there on Tuesday, but we're sparring Wednesday, Friday, and then the full following week to spar Daniel to prepare for our fight as well. And I think he's got, he's a good fighter. But, baby steps. He's only 20. To think, for Frank Warren to come out and say he's got to fight for a world title in 18 months, 2 years, you've got a long, long time to go with that boy. In respect of learning his trade, he's banging everybody over. He's got a great trainer and Martin, and I'm sure Martin would agree with me. The same. He'd maybe need at least another 8-10 fights before he hits that level. I'm not saying he couldn't. Most certainly could. I mean, he's only 20-year-old. He's a monster for 20, isn't he? He's a big guy.
He certainly is, Billy. One of our people in the chat has asked, did you end up working with Brian Rose at all, Billy?
No, what it was, Brian sustained an injury in his arm and ended up going back down to England because he actually thought his career was more or less over. But I think he went to months and months and months later. He went to a gym in Manchester. I don't know what's happened. We occasionally message each other, but I'm not exactly sure what's happening. Lovely guy, really nice guy.
Brilliant stuff. I think that'll do it then. At Billy Nelson Box on Twitter, everybody. We really appreciate you giving up your time this Sunday evening and joining us, Billy. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Thanks.
All the best now. Bye.
Yes.
Billy Nelson there. Thanks to Ozzy for sorting that one out. Spoke well, Billy. I enjoyed that interview.
I'm going to have a stab at Bacloy's opponent. I just tweeted this message out in the chat there. You see it?
Yes.
Milan Rovakanen. That's the guy who got knocked out of Cabal, the European champ.
Ah, good detective work there, Andy. Do you think that could be a reasonable step up? I suppose Sokoli has to take anyone he can get at the moment if they're struggling to get opponents like Billy says.
Well, again, he's Montenegrin, Serbian type fighters. That I know he's got a DQ defeat to Demetrenko, whether that kind of matters and that. But as I was going through his record, that there's nothing great shakes there. So, we'll wait and see, shall we say? We'll just leave it at that. I mean, I know that Cabal knocked him out in 3 rounds, just going off his record and stuff. So anytime he stepped up in class, he's been handled. So you would think if Sokoli is what we've been told he is, he should be handling this guy if it is this guy right enough.
Do you know, I was just going to say that then. I'm really interested to see how good this guy is, because I know you get bigged up by training and things like that, but when you hear Billy Nelson speak about him, you kind of do believe him. You think like he must have shown something regularly, to get this praise. And like I said, he can't get a fight. And I've seen Martin McCauley box once, and it was on a little small hole show in Ashton, and I thought he looked shite, utter shite. But to be honest, he was in with like I said, it was in the middle of nowhere. He was in with some absolute pudding.
Was that Sokolowski or somebody? Was it?
No, it wasn't even that. No, he wasn't. Sokolowski was levels above this guy.
Oh, it wasn't even that level.
Oh no, yeah, it was some punk from like Hungary or something like that. And Bacoli didn't look interested, but that was when he was training down here. Now he's took himself up to somewhere in Scotland, and like I said, the talk that is coming out of the gym is very impressive. So I hope he does get that fight, because it'll ultimately show us how good he really is. And if he is as good as he is, then there is a serious contender in that division where, like I said, if Billy feels that only Fury and Joshua can challenge him in the UK, then that means he beats a hell of a lot of top-level opponent, like top-level heavyweights in the world.
Right, Dave, let's get on to some of the action for next week. There is a fight in Germany. I'm not going to hit you with this one, though. Dominic Bussell is defending his European light heavyweight title against Enrico Colling. Lots of local interest there. Jack Kulkai as well returns against Adesat Rodriguez for the vacant EBU title. Don't worry too much about that, Dave. I know you've got no interest in that one whatsoever. Do tell me, though, about a card that is taking place next Friday evening, Oscar De La Hoya. It's on USA ESPN2. I'm assuming that's a channel that you're familiar with, Dave. Diego De La Hoya, 20-0, the NABF Super Bantamweight title and the World Boxing Organization NABO Super Bantamweight title are on the line as he takes on 36-4-2 Jose Salgado. What about this Diego De La Hoya then, Dave? He had a good win over Randy Caballero. Unexpected win, I think it's fair to say, in his last outing. Where do you think he fits into the world scene? I'm looking at the top guys. You've got the likes of Jesse Magdaleno, lost recently, Isaac Dogbo, Luis Neri, Drugs Cheat Extraordinaire, Ray Vargas. Where do you think Diego De La Hoya fits in? Is he a hype job with a good last name, or does he have a little bit more substance than you might think?
I don't care. I've never seen him fight. I'm just fed up, actually, with De La Hoya at the moment. He came out with some absolute bullshit this week about how Golovkin is scared. We're going to take bigger fights. He doesn't deserve 50-50. Canelo's just the perfect little angel who never did anything wrong. I don't care what he has to say. I don't care about his fighters. He can fuck off.
Dave's not too happy there. Dave Tricks, another Dave in the chat, says Diego De La Hoya is a decent wee fighter. That's the type of line I was going along, but Dave's not impressed. And if Dave's not impressed, that's okay. We shall look for more from Diego. He's a hard man to please, is Dave. Let's move on then, Aussie, on to next Wednesday, the 6th of June, a Wednesday night show. We all love one of them. Ted Cheeseman's on it against Paulie Upton. Danny Arya, Lucinov is fighting as well, Craig Richards. Reece Bellotti against Ryan Doyle for the Commonwealth title. Pretty decent one, this, headlined by Luke Watkins, defending against Lawrence Sokoli. Now, I think that this is going to be an interesting fight, Aussie, because Watkins strikes me as the type of guy who likes to have things stacked in his favour. We've had guys on here, the likes of Matty Askin, Tommy McCarthy, and I could be wrong, but Watkins seems like someone who takes calculated risks when he has to. He manages career very well. Is he getting paid a lot of money for this, or does he really fancy this fight against Sokoli? He's defending his Commonwealth title. There's a WBA Continental bullshit title on the line. But there's a reason why Watkins fancies this. Why do you think it is? Sokoli's inexperience, Aussie? What's going on here?
Yeah, I would say that. And aside from Isaac Chamberlain, who was Sokoli really boxed. But at the same time, I've spoken to Michael Jennings, Matty Askin, a couple of others, and they've all said as soon as Luke Watkins takes one flush on the chin, he's down. Now, we've seen Luke Watkins struggle. He got clipped regularly against like Mike Stafford last time out. And with all due respect to Mike Stafford, he's probably not the level of a Commonwealth belt, but like I said, he put in a performance and caused problems. What money talks. I know he wanted obscene amounts of money to fight Askin, and I'm talking huge, like we're talking like north of 50 or 60k. Now, in reality, this is for a Commonwealth, and I can't remember. I think the British title would have been on the line as well. That's it, and that's big money that for that sort of level of fight. I mean, you see some guys who box for world titles that don't get 50 grand, and so he priced himself out of that. He's obviously got a decent payday to come and fight Lawrence Sokoli, but I've got to admit I'm not high on Sokoli, but I do think he will. I think he'll stop Watkins and look pretty good doing it. like I said, not really impressed with Watkins. I think he selects his opponents very carefully. I mean, you look at his record now. I mean, Ian Timms, he knocked him over, but Ian Timms, I think, is long past it now. He beat Robin Dupre, who can't punch. Just having a look at Mike Stafford now. Yeah, again, 3 knockouts. The guys he's been with when he stepped up, they're not really big punches. And I think that does say quite a bit that when you do step up and these guys can't punch, is there a bit of wariness there? And like I said, these guys like Jennings and Askin, they obviously see something and know something that they feel that if basically Watkins is static, doesn't really move, he's there to be hit. And I think Sokoli will take advantage of that. And I like the way they're matching Sokoli, to be fair. They took the Chamberlain fight, they've stepped him up. And it is a step up for him. They've put him in with Watkins for a Commonwealth belt. I don't think you can argue with that. And I actually think I like the way they're moving him. Real good fight. Exactly what it is. It's a good top of the bill for a Sky show. Don't mind it. Do you want me to jump onto the undercard as well? Or
yeah, please do, Ozzy, because I actually don't think, to be fair, it's the worst card in the world, especially for Wednesday night. It's decent.
Reece Bellotti, Ryan Doyle is a cracker. Absolute cracker. I was talking to John Evans about it. He's close to it. He's like really big on the Manchester fight scene, and he gives Ryan Doyle a real chance in this, a real chance. Now, I've seen Ryan Doyle a couple of times. I saw him box Isaac Lowe. It was at the Manchester Arena, and I think it was awarded a draw, but I had Doyle winning the fight, and I wasn't the only one in the press area that had Doyle winning it as well.
Didn't he fight James Tennyson as well?
He did, yeah, but it was at a weight above. It was short notice, and it was a silly fight to take. I think they took it as more, like an opportunity, and if we basically they saw Tennyson as like vulnerable, which he can be.
He was too small, Doyle. He did okay early on, but Tennyson was just too big and started beating him up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what it was. But Doyle's had. I think he's had an 8-9 week camp for this, 7 to 9 weeks. I can't remember. And I'll be interested to see the odds, because I think if I can get Doyle at anywhere near 2-1, I'll be backing him. We saw Bellotti against Jason Cunningham last time, and I thought Cunningham was having quite a lot of success, to be honest. Meant fuck all in the end, because Cunningham was laid out on the canvas by a great shot by Bellotti. But if Doyle, I'm sure he's had pretty much, like a full camp, then this will be a cracker, and I would urge people to watch that. Ted Cheeseman, I like what I see about him. I think I've openly said it, he's one of Matchroom's better prospects. Because he's not, like a gobby, or I don't think he's a huge ticket seller. He sadly doesn't get the push when, in terms of talent-wise, I do think he's a lot better than some of the other guys that do get a push. Paul Upton, to be honest, he's 15-0, but I haven't really seen a lot of him, to be honest. I don't really know. I know he's part of like the Upton brothers. I think he's boxed in Ireland quite a bit on the small hall scene, but he's 15-0. Just have a look at his record now. Yeah, he's not boxed anybody of note. Absolutely nobody of note. So he's 15-0. This is his first fight, so he'll be 1-0 or 0-1 by the end of it. He beat Adam Jones, who I know he's a proper journeyman, by a point. That'll be interesting. I would expect Cheeseman to win. And then you've got a couple of the other usual ones like McGoldrick, Dignam, Richards. That Yalusinov is making his UK debut against the Gabor Gorbix. He boxed Liam Williams Gorbix when Ahmet Patterson pulled out of the fight, and he was brought over last week. Can take a shot. But
sounds like a Prince Patel opponent, that Gorbix.
Yeah, it is, yeah. 24-11, Hungary's finest again, down in the welterweight division. So, but no, to be fair, the 3 fights, which I think will be on TV and probably Yalusinov, I don't mind them at all. 13-0, 15-0, Cheeseman, Upton, Bellotti, Doyle, Commonwealth belt, and Watkins, Sokoli, Commonwealth belt, and some shitty WBA belt, which I couldn't care about. Toss that away. It doesn't mean anything. We don't need that. But no, happy with that. And to be honest, I think it'll be the 3 fights there. I think they'll be fun. Good to watch. But I'll want to watch Ryan Doyle, Reece Bellotti. I think that'll be the fight of the night.
Yep, I'm looking forward to the show actually after work. McKetch has been in touch on Twitter. He says he thinks Martin Bakole could be fighting Erkin Tepa. Jason Chukwu was in the chat saying he believes in the power of Lawrence Sokoli. He knocked down Femi in sparring, apparently, so Okoli's power is real. Comment to you on this, Andy. I know the American gentleman won't be interested at all. Danny Young is talking Watkins Okoli. He messaged us during the week. Fingers crossed Watkins does the business, says Danny Young. He's quite a meticulous fighter, Watkins, isn't he? He takes his time. He doesn't rush in to get rid of people. He's definitely got skills. He can definitely punch a bit. But if Okoli catches him and Aussie's projections are true about him not having the best chin, you could see Watkins going, couldn't you?
Especially at that weight, mate. I think anybody can actually bang at that weight. But you would think, again, I still haven't seen Chamberlain against Sokoli, and I know it was probably like, say, people were mentioning it was like maybe stage fight and that. So you would think they're going to put on a better show this time, especially Coley and that. But for Watkins, I think it's a big opportunity for him. When we had him on the podcast, and that he was looking for a chance, looking for opportunity, and knew he's got one, especially on primetime Sky. So it's his opportunity to take it. Hopefully, he's no gun shy, and he lets the right hand go.
Okay, Donny, I believe you're still with us. Let's go stateside. We're not going to go Crawford Horn just yet. We'll save that for after our guest. We'll save a bit of Tyson Fury as well for after our guest. Let's go over to the California State Athletic Commission, Staples Center. We've got Leo Santa Cruz headlining in the rematch that everyone was calling for against Abner Mares, and Jamel Charlo going in against Austin Trout. On the undercard, we've got Carlos Balderas, bit of a prospect. I think he's a ring star prospect, actually, and a couple of other fighters of various levels. Tell me, Donny, what's going on with this Santa Cruz Mares rematch? I'm not actually too averse to the rematch. I'm not interested in seeing a rematch, but if they'd have just had it straight after the first one, I would have said, okay, fair enough. We've seen worse. I remember, wasn't it Chad Dawson and Antonio Tarver? That was the rematch that nobody wanted. There's been Pascal Kovalev, Ruiz Holyfield, all these different rematches that nobody wanted. Where does this rank on the list, Donny, of rematches that you didn't want to see? And why didn't we just have it straight away? Why did we have to build up to this rematch? I don't understand.
Well, yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth when you said the rematch that everybody wanted. I was going to say, yeah, it was the rematch everybody wanted after the first fight. But in terms of now, I don't think it has a tremendous amount of meaning to Santa Cruz's career. Although, if Mares were able to pull this off, it would have a tremendous amount of meaning to his career. There are worse fights that you could make, but I guess I'll watch. But you're right. That's the story of the entire fight game all the time. Sometimes is that just these fights that are just ready to be made. Seemingly get they can't make them right away, and so they try to quote unquote build them up. But as a matter of fact, after all that time has passed, it seems to almost fizzle out because there's a thing for there's a thing to be said for build up, and then there's a thing to be said for too much build up where it actually you end up overcooking it, and it's not what it could have been if you just made it at the right time. That being said, I think that Santa Cruz is a lot fresher than Mares, and I think that he will get his business done. He's not a particularly hard puncher, but he does throw a lot of punches, and I don't think that Mares, just like the last time, will be able to deal with the volume that Leo Santa Cruz produces, and I would predict a Leo Santa Cruz win on points. As to the other one, what was the other fight you were mentioning? I'm sorry.
Charlo against Austin Trout, Donny.
Yeah, Trout's kind of on the slide a little bit. I think we all saw that in his recent fights, and this is actually a pretty good fight though for Charlo. And Austin Trout is, he is very skilled. I think that Charlo probably wouldn't be taking this fight. Al Heyman wouldn't be putting him in this fight if he didn't think it was a fight that he was going to win. I think you have a guy who's clearly on the ascendant path in his career versus a guy who's sort of descending, and he's already hit his peak.
Thought you were about to say he's clearly on PEDs.
Well, I'll let you take over from here, but these are fights where I think you kind of know what the outcome will be, but seeing how we get to that outcome might be interesting, and it might tell us something about the fighters involved.
Just going back to Santa Cruz-MARES, Dave, MARES seems to have been around for ages. Like Donny says, it seems quite a while ago he was nut punching. Was it Agbeko or somebody else? I can't remember exactly who, but he has some kind of WBA bauble. Santa Cruz has a WBA bauble. It's a bit of an incestuous rematch, isn't it, this, between two WBA titleists? And I suppose if they're going to fight anybody, they might as well fight each other. Isn't that the way we just have to look at it?
It's shit. I mean, the worst thing about it, like, fine, if you guys want to like come back after a layoff against each other, fine. But it's been it's been like about a year since those two fought, hasn't it? The last time they fought Avalos. I think one of them fought Avalos, one of them fought someone else who was not a big name.
Gutierrez, the guy who slipped in the shower.
Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, you give us, like, why didn't this fight happen then instead of that crap, so that they could be moving on to better things by now? Either way, I mean, I think both guys are. I mean, MARES has been decreasing in relevance since he got iced by Gonzalez. Santa Cruz is really, like, he could have built on that win over Frampton, but he didn't. He did nothing, and now people have forgotten about him. Like, he's wasted about 2 years of his career. Maybe. Wait, so I guess maybe it's only been 1 year. How long has it been? Year and a half. He's wasted too much time of his career, regardless. I don't really have much interest in this fight. I thought MARES actually looked better in his last fight than Santa Cruz did. Santa Cruz was just kind of looked lazy, like he didn't train that hard for it. Didn't have a game plan. It took him a while. I think he got a gift stoppage in that fight, but I don't really remember that well. That was, I think, the same night that old Antonio DeMarco upset that prospect in the first round. I don't remember his name though. I don't know why they didn't ever make Frampton 3, because those were both reasonably good fights. But who cares? I mean, it's time for the next generation. I think Santa Cruz missed the boat. His legacy is not going to be what it could have been.
Thanks, Dave. Exciting as always. I'm delighted to have our second guest of the evening on the line now. It's Jack Catterall. How are you, Jack?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Excellent stuff. Thanks for joining us this evening. We won't keep you too long. Let's get straight into it. We've obviously just got news the last few days or so that you're going to be fighting Tyrone McKenna after Sutcliffe pulled out. What's the verdict on McKenna and the fight? Obviously excited about this one?
Yeah, really excited. We've only had 2 rounds in the ring at a show this year, so I kind of had a feeling that I was going to get out again after the last fight at Ellen Road. So I'm excited to be involved in a good fight over in Belfast. Got a lot of respect for Tyrone. I was only talking to him a couple of weeks ago, wishing him well for the fight, but now it's come about that I'll be fighting him. So again, I'm just over the moon. The fight's been made. It's been accepted by both sides, and looking forward to getting over to Belfast and getting another win.
He's quite a tall fellow, isn't he, McKenna, for the weight? I mean, he'll obviously pose a few problems. You've been having a good look at him, watching previous fights and stuff?
Yeah, I've watched him box a few times. Yeah, he's 6'1", so southpaw. I've watched him a few times, and Tyrone likes to come to have a fight. I think with his range, he doesn't use it to his advantage all the time, but I've been studying him, and I know Jamie's been studying him as well, so we're putting a game plan together and preparing to come and dismantle him.
The Jamie you mentioned, obviously, is Jamie Moore. How's the training situation going at the moment?
Yeah, really good. I've been my 3rd fight with Jamie, and I'm in a really good place at the moment. I'm enjoying training. Things have been really well, so again, it's just about pushing on now. The last fight that I had was 2 weeks ago, so it put me in perfect stead for this one. I had a couple of days break and straight back to it for this one.
Yeah, you obviously got the knockout win on the Warrington Selby undercard against Christophe Seferi. I mean, is that the type of fight you needed? Would you have liked someone who would have gone a few more rounds? What you thinking about that fight?
Yeah, it was a little bit underwhelming for me, that fight. There was quite a few opponent changes in the weeks leading up to the fight, which is out of my control. I prepared hard for that fight, and I was willing to fight anybody, but again, it was out of my hands. I only got the 1 round out of him. I'd have preferred a few more rounds. I was always confident I'd have been able to get Christopher out the ring before the final bell, but again, the hard work we've done in training
camp. I've had 20 rounds sparring, some good work leading up to that fight again. Straight back in the gym now. It's just about finding the correct sparring partners to help with this next fight.
I think the breakthrough fight that a lot of people would know you for was back in 2014. You went in against Thomas Stalker, who was 9-0. He was a bit of a prospect, obviously, with the amateur background, and you really took him to school, you know, in truth. I mean, what do you remember of that night and the way that you fought Stalker and you know, and all that?
I remember that night pretty well. I think a lot of people forget to mention that just before that fight, I boxed Nathan Bruff. Again, he was a standard amateur, and he posed a lot of problems, probably more problems than Stalker proposed at the time for me. He was a tall, orthodox fighter. He boxed international around the world for many years. So, and then them two fights come quite close together in 2014. But again, both that and the Stalker fight enabled me to earn my position really within the promotion to move on and keep progressing.
What about your fight with Tyrone Nurse as well, Jack? He's quite a tricky operator. What do you remember about fighting him? He obviously lost in Australia recently as well. I think it was last Thursday.
Again, Tyrone was another good fight. He posed a different problem against the previous opponents. He was a tricky fighter, very slick. But again, I believe in training and in the gym, you've got to work on everything. Every fighter poses a different threat, like Tyrone, completely different to this time fighting. But I believe that the hard work gets done in the gym. I prefer for every fight, give it 100%, so I know that come fight night, there'll be no stone left unturned.
Just to remind our listeners, we have Jack Catterall on the line. He's 21-0, 12 knockouts, 24 years of age, moving on up the rankings at world level even at the moment. What's Frank Warren said to you about future prospects? Obviously, you have discussions with him. What type of direction does he look like he's going to push you in? What's on the horizon?
Yeah, well, a lot of people know that obviously next weekend we've got Terry Flanagan fighting for the WBO world title, and I'm currently ranked number 4 in the WBO. But again, I wouldn't show Tyrone McKenna the disrespect by thinking about future fights right now. I've got a tough fight, a fight that I believe I can come through. But nevertheless, I've got to come through this fight so I can sit down and start thinking about the next fight.
If anyone on the panel has any questions for Jack, then hit me up shortly and we'll get you on. We'll be letting Jack go very soon. One of our chat members has asked about a possible future fight between you and the likes of O'Hara Davis. Obviously, he's on the same promotional stable as you now. What do you think about O'Hara as a fighter?
Listen, O'Hara's got a lot to say for himself. He's got a fight schedule, and I've got a fight schedule. But God willing, I come through this Tyrone fight with a good win. Be more than happy to take that fight. That fight was proposed to him on a Belfast show, and I believe he turned it down. So, I mean, that speaks for itself. Again, I don't pay too much attention to other fighters when I'm training for a fight. Obviously, I'll be watching his fight, watching Terry's fight, the likes of other fighters in my weight division. But right now, I've got a job to do, and I won't take my eye off that.
Will you be keeping an eye on the Terence Crawford Jeff Horn fight? Who do you think is going to win that one next week, Jack?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Terence Crawford is one of my favourite fighters, current fighters at the moment. So thankfully he's moved up to welterweight. But I do fancy Crawford for that fight. I'll be tuning in at weekend and having a watch of that.
Yeah, we're going to be previewing that one soon, and I'd say there's not going to be many people picking Jeff Horn. Does anybody on the panel have any questions for Jack before we move on, guys?
Hi, Jack. Just one question from me, mate. There's been some speculation going about that we're going to get a £140 tournament at the World Boxing Super Series. Is it something you could entertain if the opportunity comes up?
I'd be more than happy to enter the competition. I believe that I'm ready to be involved in exciting fights now. I mean, the last couple of opponents haven't been ideal for me, but again, you can only fight what's been put in front of you. I believe once people see me beat Tyrone, hopefully that will progress me, and if people keep on it, if that opportunity come around to fight in the Super Series, then wow, I'd definitely
I remember this, the Thomas Stalker victory, as Steve alluded to. I was ringside for the fight. I covered it for Boxing Scene. You know, at that point, I did think you were going to be a star in the making, and you'd been away to America sparring in the Mayweather gym and stuff. Has it been slightly frustrating for you, considering how your career's kind of like panned out over the last couple of years, especially with some of the opponents that you've been kind of supposed to take on?
Well, there's been frustrations, but at the same time, I've always been in the gym. I've always been sparring world-class fighters and learning and moving forward. Like I said before, you can only fight what's in front of you. A couple of the fights have been frustrating, but all the time I've always been learning. So I know what I'm capable of doing, and I don't think it will on before the public and the boxing fans can see it.
Anything else? Any other questions, guys? I think that's it, Jack, to be honest with you. Thanks for joining us. Final question from me. What about the Josh Taylor-Victor Postol fight that's coming up soon? How do you see that one going?
Yeah, I wish Josh all the best for the fight. It's a good fight for Josh in his career as well. Obviously, I'll be watching that fight. Two fighters again in my weight division. I think it's a winnable fight for Josh. Might have been a much difficult fight 3 or 4 years ago. Again, it's still a good fight, so I'll be tuning in to watch that.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks for joining us this Sunday evening, Jack, and all the best. We hope to get you on again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. You take care.
Cheers. All the best. Bye.
All the best, mate. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Jack Catterall there. Good to hear from Jack. He's moving on in the right direction. Once again, thanks to Ozzy for sorting that one out. He's the man who gets all the guests. Jack Catterall, good fighter is Jack Ozzy. Obviously, he hasn't been that active lately. But if we can get a bit of activity, then hopefully he can push on towards world level. I think the ability's there.
Yeah, and Jack doesn't shy away from anybody. He's said yes to fights before and then they've fallen through and things like that. And like he said himself, you honestly believe that he wants to be fighting Kevin McCauley and Christopher Seferi? Does he, heck? What? They're no good for him. The McCauley fight was literally thrown in because they wanted basically a run out with Jamie Moore, Nigel Travis in the corner, and McCauley wasn't even the opponent. They had someone obviously not great, but better than him. He pulled out literally 2 days before the fight, and McCauley does what McCauley does. He steps in, and he got absolutely annihilated in a round. Again, Sabiri wasn't the opponent. He should have been boxing Hara Davis that night, actually, at Ellen Road. Jack's opponent pulled out on, I think, Monday of fight week. The opponent was underwhelming, to be honest. And we spoke about it before on the Ellen Road card. I think they said they saw it sell so well, they thought, basically, what is the point in pumping loads of cash into this undercard? We've done 20,000 tickets. We've got our names on it. Let's just chuck them in, with like these foreign imports coming over. He didn't want to be boxing somebody like that. He's just come back off his holiday and he booked the holiday basically because originally they were told they were looking at basically lads like Tony Luis, Ismael Barroso, Darlis Perez. They were the names originally that were mentioned, and there were 3 fighters that Jack was literally, like you get the butterflies in your stomach, like he got the bit between his teeth for him. And he thought, yeah, these are legit step ups, particularly after he was told to vacate the British title as well. Things didn't happen, and then obviously the opportunity with Tyrone McKenna came through, and I think this is a fight that he can look really good in. Tyrone McKenna, he had a bit of a war with Reynald Garrido. Now, obviously, we know what Reynald Garrido does. He just comes forward and smothers people. And I think this is a fight where, similar to, like when he broke, like we mentioned it, I was at the fight when he knocked out Nathan Brough, and for anyone who doesn't see it, it's on YouTube. It was a real fluid shot, and it was a hell of a knockout for Brough. He was a 6'1" guy, and he hit the canvas like a sack of spuds. But when he came on the scene and destroyed Tom Stoker, I think next, at the end of the month, I think Jack could do a similar job to Tyrone McKenna. We've seen him take shots before. Jack can punch, and I think when the opponent comes to fight, you will see better in him. He's got a lot of skills. Defensively, he's very good. And I hope now that from when he gets hopefully he can beat McKenna. He's a friend of mine. They then move him on. The Hara Davis fight has been mentioned to him, like he just said. And that is being eyed up for later in the year. And I think that's a great fight, a real good fight. And again, a winnable one after that. The Flanagan one's always mentioned. I'd like him to get a couple of fights in before it. Just legit step-ups at like European level and things like that. Then when he's going in with Flanagan, he's had the experience against the better fighters, rather than being perhaps a little bit undercooked. Not through any, like his fault, but, like the caliber of opponents on the levels, like of Flanagan or just below that. Get him beat McKenna, potentially beat Davis, and then you get one more fight in like a European level fight, Yidjit or something like that. And if you can come through that, then I think you're ready to go on to the world scene and potentially make an name for yourself up there.
Certainly, we've got no Smido this week, so we will be coming back to you later, Ozzy, for some betting value. I can't remember the gentleman who asked us last week on Twitter for the betting corner, so Ozzy's betting corner will be coming up later. He'll be scouring through the bookmakers as we speak to try and find something. Callum B's on the chat asking for a Prince Patel update. We've already done that, Callum. You'll have to rewind back to the beginning of the show. Ozzy already did that right at the top of the hour at 8 o'clock. It's 9:20 now. We've got Andy on the call. Ozzy's with us. Dave the Hater Lowback. Rob Kelly, I think, is supposed to be coming on at some point. If we're still going, we'll be going till about 10 or so, I'd say, tonight. We've got plenty to keep us occupied. Donny has disappeared. Don't forget, if you enjoy the show, then please take a second to press the subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to this on. It just lets the providers know that you're getting value from what we're talking about, everybody, and you want to be here when we put this shit out every Sunday evening. Right, Dave, I cut you off in your prime earlier. You told me about Leo Santa Cruz against Abner Mares, the rematch. Had you talked about Jamel Charlo going in against Austin Trout? If not, have you got any interest in this one, Dave?
It's all right. Big brother Jamal already beat him. I guess we're going to see if Jamel can do better against him. I mean, it's tough to do.
He just beat him and no more.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was a clear winner, but it wasn't like it was a fun fight to watch. Certainly, Hurd did a better job on him than Jamal did. I guess this is. I like to see Jamel fighting like the undefeated prospects better than this, but I don't know. It's a time filler, I guess. There's what can he do at 154 right now? I guess with Hurd just having fought quite recently, it's a sort of a open field right now. He's not going to fight Lara. Lara just came off a loss. It'd be great if he could fight Andrade, Jermell versus Andrade. Get one of those two out of the way. I think Jermell would win that. Andrade is probably regressed. I mean, he did not look great against Kolkai, and he doesn't fight, so who knows what's going on with him. It's hard to think, though, like who's a better opponent for him right now. I mean, 154 is sort of a burgeoning division with some names that are sort of under the surface, but they're coming up. And it's got an exciting potential couple of fights at the top with Jermell and Hurd, maybe Lara thrown in there for a rematch with Hurd. I would say probably Jermell wins this fight. I think Trout's certainly on the downslide.
Dave's ladies card on the table there, Andy. We've got Charlo Trout on the undercard, Leo Santa Cruz, Abner Mares on the main event. Any thoughts on this particular card event?
Well, why's Trout getting another world title shot? That's his third in 4 fights, and one of those.
Yeah. He's a recycled, reliable name sort of thing, possibly. PBC payday, all that type of stuff.
You just wonder if maybe Jermell was going to handle him better than what Jamal did. I know Hurd made him quit, or he was forced to retire and stuff, but he was, he was still in that fight against Hurd. Although he was losing it on all 3 scorecards, he was still close in 2 of them. I think Charlo's going to probably beat him on points. He's generally durable to Trout. And to be honest, I think this is the Charlo that can easily be outboxed. I think I'm sure this is the one. This is the one that John Jackson was beating, wasn't it? I think it was.
Yes, it was.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
he's probably the worst brother, but he has looked. To be fair to him, he has looked really good in his last 2-3 fights.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he's fought Charles Hatley, and I can hear people in the chat saying Charles who? I know who had he fought, and then obviously had Erickson Lubin who
he beat Mundine. Great win.
Aye, Mundine.
Wasn't Hatley the one who chased Canelo or something up an escalator or
he beat Martirosyan in that Joachim Alcine, but you know, Lubin, in all best intents and purposes, was a fucking prospect coming through at that point. Okay, the knockout was chilling, it was savage, it was early. It's what you want to see sometimes, but you know, let's not beat about the bush. The guy was a fucking prospect. That's all I've got to say about that, really. But the main event, again, I expect Santa Cruz to win it. Maybe he's taking the fight lightly. Maybe Mares wants it more. Who knows? But I dare say I'll watch it. But it's got 12 rounds written all over it. And Santa Cruz will probably just win it like something like 160, 112. And then they'll go back to like no fighting again for about another year and a bit or whatever and that. So, you know, fuck that card.
Yeah, final word to you, Ozzy. Fuck that card, resounding thumbs down from Andy. I think the main thing I want to see is just get 2 conclusive winners and let's move on. Get Santa Cruz in with Gary Russell Jr. That's the fight I want to see. And Charlo, just move him on to fight somebody decent. If he can look good against Trout, who is quite difficult to look good against, then get somebody who's. I'm just looking at the ratings here. Someone who Charlo could fight. But yeah, just a couple of conclusive winners, Ozzy, and just move on, please.
Exactly that. I've nothing really else to add apart from what anybody else has said. I agree with Andy. I was surprised Trout has got another shot. I thought he boxed the brother, didn't he, last time out? And I thought it was, oh no, he's had a win since against Wandy Angel. Oh no, it was Hurd. That was it, the Hurd fight. I remember watching that. It wasn't bad, and it was competitive at times. And I think perhaps a bit of age caught up on Trout in that, and I think he started to tire and the legs looked a bit heavy. But he's got an opportunity here. He's still got his qualities, but I think Charlo will have too much. And again, I think Santa Cruz will beat Mares. I think it will be an upset if Mares does beat him. And then I would happily see the Frampton fight again. I think, or Russell, but Russell's box of the year now, so we're not going to see him again. I would happily see Santa Cruz, Russell, or Frampton. I think the Frampton fight needs to happen. It's just a shame that it probably won't happen in the UK, where I think it would sell a bundle of tickets. But sadly, I don't think Santa Cruz will travel, despite him previously saying he would do. But no, going back to it, 2 conclusive winners, and let's move on.
Yeah, I thought one of a comment Santa Cruz made whenever he said to Nonito Donaire, be wary of the judges in Belfast. Well, I thought was a bit disingenuous from Santa Cruz, because based on what type of robberies is Frampton pulling home in Belfast? I can't even think of any of them. I think he's just talking shit, to be honest with you. You're going to back him up, aren't you, Dave?
For me, no. Because has Santa Cruz ever fought in Belfast? I don't think so. But I think he has to be more wary of the judges.
Santa Cruz fought in New York. He says it was more like fighting in fucking Ireland.
Yeah, he said to Donaire, Dave, to be wary of the judges when he went over to Belfast. I think he was just having a little gripe, really, because there's no precedent for that with Frampton's career.
The judges were fine in Belfast against Donaire. I mean, Donaire was what he was. He was just faded.
Yeah, I don't think the judging in Belfast was suspect, but I do think that the judging in Santa Cruz, Frampton was a little suspect. I thought in both fights they were a little favorited towards Frampton. I thought that Santa Cruz and Frampton, the first fight, you could go either way. I thought the judges had a little wide for Frampton, one or two of them. And the second fight, I think they had a majority decision. I thought that was a clear Santa Cruz win. I thought he won probably 8-4, 9-3, possibly in that fight. I thought he'd really outboxed.
In which fight? The rematch?
The rematch, yeah.
9-3?
I thought it was arguable, yeah. I thought that, and they had like a majority, really, really close decision. I thought that the judges were a little biased towards Frampton in both of those fights, which surprised me considering where they fought.
Right, let's move on to a couple of the big ones just before we do so. Shout out to Duke Micah, bantamweight, who's fighting under the Evander Holyfield banner next Saturday evening in Brooklyn in the King's Theatre against Thomas Snow. Snow's 19-3. Duke Micah must get more shout-outs on this pod than anywhere else in the boxing world. I'm pretty sure he fought Michael Conlan back in the Olympics, and I've been following him ever since. He's 21-0, and he's from Ghana, and he's fighting for the WBC International Bantamweight title. So we could see Micah maybe popping up. in the World Boxing Super Series or something, but he's one to keep an eye on. He might turn out to be a silent Mabuza, you know, once he steps up against someone of any great, you know, presence. He might just get knocked out. But shout out to Duke Micah anyway. I'm sure he's listening. Hey to Dave, let's get you in on this big fight next weekend in the MGM Grand Las Vegas. This is a strange fight for me. I don't know whether it's the same for you lot, but Jeff Horn and Terence Crawford, I wouldn't say it's crept up on me, but it hasn't had the buzz that you would expect a fight of this magnitude to have. It hasn't been like as if all the guys on boxing seem to be really buzzing about it on Twitter. Maybe I just haven't been looking in the right places, Dave. But no, everyone seems to think it's a formality. It's a foregone conclusion that Terence Crawford's going to beat Horn. Do you go along with that thinking, Dave? Why hasn't this fight got the, you know, the requisite buzz that a big fight usually does have?
Well, maybe it's just me, but I haven't noticed a great deal of buzz for boxing in general over in the States. I think it's sort of understated this year. Maybe with the cancellation of Canelo.
Sorry, Dave. Did you say there's no buzz in America? You try to tell me with Eddie Hearn's promotional deal coming up here, there's been absolutely zero buzz in America. You know, you don't get Chicky Nando's and a bit of banter over there in America when Eddie Hearn comes to town.
No. I mean, we saw. I mean, probably the biggest thing that's happened this year has been Wilder Ortiz for the stateside boxing. And that was probably the biggest buzz we had all year. I'd say MMA has more buzz right now than boxing for sure. This is actually the fight that I'm probably looking forward to the most this weekend, though, just because I do think Crawford is rightly favored. And I think he's going to win. I think he's going to look good doing it. And that's why I'm looking forward to it, because I want to see him just kind of put a beating on Jeff Horn, who I thought got, I mean, no, I have nothing against Jeff Horn, but I thought he got a gift against Pacquiao. He's a brave guy, so he should take a fair amount of punishment. It'd be interesting to see how Crawford looks at the weight, if he carries his power up. Want to see him maybe do some cool defensive maneuvers with the head, put on a little sweet pea, put on a little bit of Duran, because he does have that nasty streak that Duran had, which we all like about him. So I'm looking forward to this fight, and it's true. There hasn't been a lot of buzz for this, but then there hasn't been a lot of buzz about boxing in general lately. Earlier in the year, I thought it was a bit stronger, and this year was starting off looking pretty strong. But maybe it was the cancellation of Golovkin Canelo that kind of just sucked the momentum out of the sport, and I don't really think there's been much talk about it. As far as I've been noticing, I haven't been paying that much attention, but
Dave, tell me about the TV situation, because I'm looking on ESPN.com here, and I've assumed that they would be pushing Crawford to the wider audience, to ESPN TV, you know, where everyone could see him. But am I right in saying it's only on the ESPN Plus app, so you have to stream this?
That's actually, yeah, that's what they've been pushing, and actually they pushed this during Lomachenko Linares, which was.
Is that an own goal, Dave? Do you think, or what?
I don't know. I do not see the app being successful with boxing. Yeah, I think they should probably just get it on free TV, because when boxing's on free TV, it does good ratings. It really does. And I don't think people are going to want to just get involved in this complex niche way of watching it. But we've seen it, boxing do well on terrestrial TV multiple times. So after the Olympics with Errol Spence knocking out Bundu, did great. Tyson Fury against Cunningham did good over here. Tyson Fury against Chisora did great over there when it was on terrestrial TV. People will flip it on if it's on, and if they get a little bit of promo to it. I think I don't know about the money situation, or I mean I can't imagine you're making more money doing that than you would with a pay-per-view. But I mean I think that's the way to build stars is do it terrestrially. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert on the business side of it. Donnie's usually has some pretty good insight into the business side of things in the States, but I wish as a fan that they would do that. And I think that they might be surprised with how many viewers they would be able to pull if they would just put some more boxing on terrestrial TV, free TV, get some more fans involved.
Andy, it's hard to make a case for Jeff Horn. The one thing I think he has got going in his favour in that he's a big dude. He's going to be, you know, well flushed out on the night to blowing up so many pounds over the limit, and maybe his resilience and his strength and his physical ability to maybe grab hold of Crawford could possibly make it interesting. I'm clutching at straws here, Andy. What have we got to go on in favour of Horn?
Size, relentlessness, if anything. And again, as well as obviously, I don't know if am I right in saying this is Crawford's first official visit up to 147. So maybe the rehydration. So you just don't know if he's maybe maxed out, but I expect him. We switch hitting, the stances. At the end of the day, Terence Crawford's got a bit of dog in him. He has got that nasty side to him as well. So if he does get Horn on the hook, he's basically going to, I think he would go in there and take him out. But although I don't rate Jeff Horn, I had expected Manny Pacquiao to beat him when they two were going to go and fight. I did think that maybe. But just purely on his size and how big he is and his relentlessness, he would maybe cause some problems for Crawford. But I really don't know. But it's a bit a piss actually. I know this fight's been delayed, but I see fucking arseholes arguing in the chat there actually that Crawford isn't a star for being a great fighter and he doesn't get promoted properly and that. Well, let's just get some facts straight here. Terence Crawford actually as a draw in his hometown of Omaha, Nebraska, right? He filled out against John Molina. He filled out against Derry Jean. He filled out against Beltran. He filled out against Gamboa. All fights in his hometown of Omaha, Nebraska. So I have no idea why Aram decides to take him on the road to Vegas. He has done it for his last fight as well. In fact, I think he might have done it for his last two or three fights actually. But for a guy like Crawford, who, by the way, whenever I've watched his fights in Omaha, they've always been sold out. The atmosphere is incredible, so it makes no sense whatsoever to actually, be taking this guy on the road. Build him in his hometown, make him an attraction in his hometown, and get the guys to travel there. I think he'd actually make more money as well. Who knows? But maybe again, the MGM Grand are putting up a good licensing fee, site fee, so to speak. So that's the reason why the fights maybe went to Nevada. Who knows? But Crawford, I think, will become a strawweight world champion. I expect him to do it on points. But again, there's a couple of question marks. One, how does he look at 147? I don't think he'll be cutting too much. And does Jeff Horn causing problems purely on the rehydration size and his relentlessness and his toughness? So, but I'm going to go Crawford like 117, 111.
Interesting, Andy's going on points. I know a few people think that Horn's going to be knocked out of there. I'm not so sure that Horn will get beaten up as... I think he will get beaten up towards the end of the fight, but I don't think he's going to get knocked out as heavily as people think. I think this is a big, tough dude, and he does have things going for him. One point as well, while Dave was talking about TV rankings and stuff, that occurred to me. I wrote this in an article recently. On the same night as Lomachenko was fighting Linares on ESPN, HBO was showing Munguia against Saddam Ali. And it's almost like the tables have turned now. We've got Eddie coming in. We've got ESPN Plus. HBO were once the standard bearers of quality when it comes to boxing. And you've got them putting on Munguia, Saddam Ali, which a few years ago would be like a ESPN Friday Night Fights level card on the same night as ESPN are putting on Linares against Lomachenko, which is, HBO at its best, maybe even pay-per-view if it was managed correctly at one point, possibly not. But the point I'm getting at. The tables have turned and ESPN are the new big players. So the fact that they're not putting it on anything apart from the ESPN Plus app, I'm sure that they know what they're doing. Like Eddie with the Zone, Bob Arum is going to have to get a hell of a lot of fighters together to make up these dates. And Arum made a good point as well earlier on Twitter. The Eddie deal is an initial 2-year deal with the possibility of another 3 or 4 to come afterwards as well. So maybe a little bit of smoke and mirrors there. I went off on a bit of a tangent there, Ozzy. Sorry about that. We will come to you for your betting tips soon. Also, Belly of the Weeks is coming up, and we do have the Tyson Fury card as well to discuss. But before we do that, Billy Nelson was mentioning earlier, Ozzy, about just how difficult it was to prepare and then adapt during the fight against a fighter like Terence Crawford. So the trouble that Jeff Horn and his training team have on their hands to try and do exactly that this weekend. One advantage I think Horn has got is his trainer. I've been really impressed with this Glenn Rushton guy. I saw a couple of fights that Horn had before Pacquiao, and especially during the Pacquiao fight, Ozzy, I thought Glenn Rushton was excellent. He gave all the right advice at the right times. He might not be a marquee name, a standard name, but he did a good job. So Crawford, I'm not saying he's going to have his hands full with Horn any more so than he's going to win the fight, but this guy, Glenn Rushton, he might have a plan, might know what he's doing, and Horn might not be blown out there as quickly as people think.
No, and I think it means a lot to have someone, like you're going into the corner that is calm and provides the right advice. I mean, we've seen some shambolic corners over the years where you hear things and you think, like, what are you watching or what you're doing, what you're saying? And Jeff Horn does have somebody in the corner who knows the stuff. Unfortunately, I don't think Jeff Horn has the ability to pose any problems to Terence Crawford, no, I thought what Billy Nelson said was quite good actually, and I do believe that Ricky Burns actually has given Terence Crawford one of probably his tougher fights in his career, to be honest. Compared to some of the way he's blown some people out, I thought that Burns. What were the cards? Did he lose by 6 rounds or something like that? Or I can't remember now. It was a few years ago.
Well, if you listen to Jim Watt, he only lost because he was worried about the jaw.
Well, yeah, there's a reason why. There's a reason why. What's it called? Jim Watt got fired by Sky. Anyway, I just can't see what Horn can do. And to be honest, we're talking about the weight. Actually, like people looking bad on the scales, and Horn looked shocking against Gary Corcoran last time out. And he looked horrendous. And I remember seeing a story about how much weight he cuts on like the day before or something like that, and it was a huge amount. And he needs to be feeling good at the weight going in against someone like Terence Crawford, and I think he'll have too much for him. I think he'll get rid of him late, to be honest. I think it will be, you're looking at rounds probably 9 to 12. I think he'll get rid of him, and he will again just cement his place in boxing history. It'll be a 3-weight world champion, and then after that there is some superb fights to make, none less than Crawford, Errol Spence.
Right, I'm flicking furiously through the rankings here, trying to. I've already mentioned Duke Micah. No more Duke Micah chat for tonight. Yeah, I think we're on to the big one now, guys. To be honest with you, bit of Tyson Fury, everybody. We spoke about the return. Let's get stuck in. I did have a question or two. I shall bring up those very shortly. Dave Lowback getting stuck in on the chat as well. Let's go to you first then, Dave. Good card this is. I know we've slagged off Frank, but when he puts a good one on, just like Eddie as well, we will give him his props. Terry Flanagan against Maurice Hooker, that could be potentially the worst fight of all time. But I mean, I suppose it's a world-level fight between two decent operators. 3 draws on Maurice Hooker's record. He's not the best fighter, to be honest with you. He really isn't. Anyway, Mark Heffron is going in against Andrew Robinson. James Metcalf, Jorge Fortea. Metcalf, I believe, is Kid Shamrock, because I was looking through his name and thinking, I've never even heard of him, and he's 17-0. I think he's called Kid Shamrock. Nathan Gorman, he's in against Sean Turner. Troy Williamson, 7-0 against 11-0 Jack Flatley. Jack Massey against Ian Timms. Zelfa Barrett's also on the card. Lyndon Arthur, and a variety of other fighters. But the one they're all interested in, Dave, how will he look? Tyson Fury, 25-0 against Seferi, El Safari Park himself, 23-1. What are you looking for in this comeback, Dave? What do you want to see, and what do you think you will see from Tyson Fury?
Well, now that it's finally here, I got a little bit of butterflies. It's weird. Like he's the lineal champion. Probably deserved to be stripped for inactivity, but he's still the man. I mean, the man who beat the man, and it's exciting to see him come back. It's heavyweight champion of the world. Heavyweight boxing has always captured the imagination of fans like nothing else. It is intriguing, and it's all about how he looks. It's not really about the opponent, or about who wins. I mean, I think everybody expects Tyson Fury wins. If he were to lose, I mean, that's a massive setback, possibly the end of his career if he were to lose this fight. I don't think most people are considering that as something very likely at all. But it's all about, is he going to look good here? Is he going to look like he's done the weight well? Is he going to look like he's has a gas tank? Is he going to look fast? Is he going to have the same reflexes? Is he going to have any punching power? Because Tyson Fury, as good as that Vlad win was, we haven't seen him that regularly at heavyweight. There's been like delays in between so many of his fights due to pullouts and other things. And of course, after Vlad, we 2 years off. So it's really been hard to get a consistent read on Tyson Fury, because he improved between his fights, but you never really got to see it sort of side by side, because they were often so far apart. His opposition was always so inconsistent, up, down, usually down, really, for the most part of his career. He's fought like not very many good guys. It's been Chisora and Vlad are the notable names on his record. I guess you could put Cunningham in there as well. That was sort of Cunningham's last hurrah against Tyson Fury, dropping him and actually making it a really fun fight. So it's really tough to rate Tyson Fury because of the inconsistency we've seen in his career and his opposition. So I'm hoping for just a stellar punch-perfect performance where he kind of plays with him for a few rounds, looks defensively sound and just puts him away after about 5 rounds. I think that'd be nice to see. We really need to see, though. I really do want him to take it a few rounds, not just end him right away, because I want to see the gas tank. I want to see the movement. I want to see the head movement, foot movement, speed. I wanted to give him a chance to get his feet wet again. But I guess enough said about this, because it really doesn't. The opponent really shouldn't provide any specific trouble to Tyson Fury, but it's all about how he looks and how he beats the guy.
Okay, if anybody's wondering where Adam Smith is this weekend, why he's not here talking about Tyson Fury with us, he's on Twitter there 10 minutes ago tweeting about Britain's Got Talent. So it shows where Smido's priorities are lying tonight. Smido, come on, get on there if you're listening, brother.
You think the missus has got him watching it?
All right, that'll be his excuse anyway. We're not going to get any betting tips for him tonight now. Let's move on to Andy. We've had a question in from 13 Mike Boxing. Shout out to AJ's glutes as well, because he's been telling me for a while now about this subject, about Fury not fighting on Box Nation. And to be honest with you, I just didn't believe it. I just didn't believe him. I thought he got it wrong. I thought there's no way that Tyson Fury will not be fighting on the boxing channel, on a boxing channel that his promoter owns. And 13 Mike Boxing, Andy, has said exactly the same thing. Why do we think the Fury fight is not being shown on Box Nation, despite being with a promoter who owns the channel? I've now cancelled mine, says 13 Mike Boxing, for that very reason. What the hell's going on, Andy? This is ridiculous.
So Smido, he cancelled his subscription during the week there as well. I really don't know, obviously, but there's rumours going about that old man Ives was seriously ill or maybe even passed away, so maybe the finances are getting pulled. Who knows? It's maybe the home of champions and stuff. It's going to be a shame, actually, if that channel actually goes, because obviously we're getting some of the American fights and this BT's going to pick it up. As for the fight itself, I can understand people saying it's shit and the opponent's awful. He's not even a heavyweight, for example, and that. But I think we've got to kind of say to ourselves, for a comeback opponent, being 2 years out of the ring and stuff, it's just good to see him back. I'm not making any excuses or defending him in any way, shape, or form in that regards to his opponent and that. But he's going to look good. I can see the point if he's wanting to carry him, get some rounds under his belt and stuff. But I would give him this gimme fight, shall we say, and then after that, I just think he needs to get himself right back in the mix and stuff. Not so much heavyweight boxing, I think just boxing in general kind of misses the banter and how he goes about things and stuff. But certainly need him back. We need more challengers and world class fighters at heavyweight. It's kind of getting kind of bare. So we need him. Basically in there, and basically. Yeah, definitely in fighting shape, but we need a match that he can be a bit more to his bow. I mean, he can box. There's no doubt about that. But I just like to see him step in sometimes and end fights early, especially when he's outclassing opponents and stuff. So I just think it would be an absolute bollocks if he actually carries this guy for 10 or 10 rounds, 12 rounds, whatever it is. But the other question is this: what has he got left? I mean, he's missed 2 years of potentially his prime. And he's been getting out of shape and God knows what other things he's been getting up to and stuff. So is that just shaved a few more years off his career? Who knows? But I dare say next week's going to give us a few answers and that as to how he's going to look and what he's got left. But after this fight, we're going to see him kind of in the mix with like say Pulev's, White's. I can't see any of the cross promoter fights happening unless it's going to be Femi. So who knows? You might end up having to fight some of the kind of foreign also runs and stuff. Guys like say Cabal, the remaining that you're already beat and stuff. But who knows? But I think he's got to look semi decent in this fight and just and knock the guy out. That is the main thing. Then what happens after that is it's going to be a long, arduous task to get that Femi fight made at some point.
Certainly is. Donny's back with us. He's pumped up his phone. He was off logging into his multiple accounts, hitting the thumbs up button over on this particular episode. If you're in the chat, I know the boys have already done it. Elena Tyrell, Chuckwoo's in there, MB, all the usual faces, Fat Apples as well. Go and hit the thumbs up. Come on. You love us. You love us. Tell YouTube that you love us too. Ozzy, over to you. I know that you probably have a few comments to make on the undercard. More than welcome to hear those. First of all, though, the big man himself, same question to you as I asked Hater Dave Lowback. What do we really need to see from Tyson in this return?
I think we need to see a stoppage, and relatively early as well. they can talk about him needing the rounds and things like that, but in reality, we don't want to see him go 8, 9, 10 rounds with this absolute nobody. I don't mind the opponent at all. It was never ever sold as it was going to be someone who will pull up any trumps or anything like that. It was always sold as basically it's going to be, in a nutshell, a knockover job. Someone who can come in, may take him 4 or 5 rounds, and he will get rid of. So I don't mind that. Like I said, it's not as if we were promised, like an A class and you get delivered a D class. We've been promised. We've been delivered what was promised. Fine, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I think we'll see a bit of showboating. I think I'll give it to Fury. The shape he's in, he's absolutely superb because 6 months ago he was a fat slob, absolutely fucked, didn't look in any shape whatsoever. But I'll give it to him. He's really knuckled down. He's shedded a hell of a lot of weight. Heard good things coming out of the Hatton gym, saying people are saying he's looking as good as what he was before he took a break. So that's obviously encouraging signs. And I'm looking forward to seeing him back. I enjoyed the Klitschko performance. I know it wasn't for everybody. I know people probably wanted to see, like standing there and trading, but I thought Fury shut a lot of his haters up that night, and it's just a shame that he's not fought since. So it's good that he's back, and I think we need to see a more than convincing performance. And let's get him out straight away. Let's get him out again in September or something like that, and then again in December. Let's slowly increase the levels of opponents, and then eventually we can go into 2019 and then look at the bigger fights. Because I think that's what everybody wants to see. If Tyson Fury gets back to his best, we have a legit world-class fighter coming in to fight either Wilder or Joshua.
And what about the undercard before we move on to Donny? Quite a few fights of interest, Ozzy. Anything that stands out for you? I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not thinking anything. I've forgotten which fight I was going to say. I'm looking forward to Gorman against Big Sexy. And I'm looking forward to, there was another one as well, possibly this Metcalf-Fortier. You seen this Metcalf in action?
I have seen James Metcalf, actually. I watched him against Damon Jones. It was on a show in Leeds. Back end of last year, I think Warrington was headlining against that Dennis Chalan. Metcalf looked good, gets hit a lot. If Jones had a bit of a dig on him, he would have caused Metcalf a hell of a lot of problems that night. But Metcalf can really punch, trained by Derry Matthews and Georgie Vaughan. And he looks good. He should have been boxing for a British title, a vacant belt, I think, against an Azinia Byfield, but he withdrew from that. It was a final eliminator, that's why. Talented fighter, 17-0. I don't know anything about the opponent. I think he's a guy from Portugal or something like that. It's for some fringe WBC belt. Mark Heffron, fresh off a winner, Ellen Rowe, back out against Andrew Robinson. Probably his toughest fight today. Andrew Robinson, when he steps up to like your British level, he falls short. I remember him boxing Frank Buglioni on a Warren show a few years ago now, and then I think he's part of the BCB promotions in Birmingham. I think Gorman Turner's an excellent fight. That's a really good fight. That Big Sexy seems to be going on the road now of sorts, doesn't he, Steve? He's like he took the fight with. Obviously, he got that upset loss against that. I think it was Sokolowski. He took the fight.
Fought Hergovich, beat the human password. He needs to do this, Ozzy. I think this is the right route for him, to be honest.
Yeah, then he got beat off Hergovich. We can't forget he iced the human password, which, not many people can do that. David Hay, one of them.
We watched that fight, remember that?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. It was on one of the worst streams I have ever seen. It was horrendous. But no, and I think this is a real good fight. And he will certainly ask questions of Nathan Gorman. Turner will be coming to win. I saw a picture of him actually, and he looks like he's slimmed down even more because he had the weight to lose. So he's clearly in shape. And is it Katie Taylor's dad still in his corner, Steve? He seems to have got Turner on basically, on a bit of a decent run. I know he gave it on Hergovich. He got on his chest, and Hergovich was just too much. Now, Gorman is quite highly rated, so it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with that.
Yeah, Peter Taylor's gym is buzzing at the moment. He's got Luke Keeler as well. He seems to be on the way up, and he's a good coach.
Yes, yeah, and I think it's working for Sean Turner as well. I think I think it's a great fight. I think it's a real good one. Troy Williamson, Jack Flatley is very good. It's an 8-rounder, and the last time these two boxed was in the ABAs. Williamson came out on top. Flatley's part of Steve Wood's VIP camp. This is a real good 50-50 fight, and this is what we want to see. This, isn't it? You've got Williamson 7-0, Flatley 11-0. They're putting the records on the line for nothing more than just to looking to use it as a stepping stone and push towards domestic level titles. It's an 8-rounder. Quite easily, these two could go on boxing, puddings, boosting that record even more, and then, like with no real step ups. Jack Massey, Ian Timms. Jack Massey will beat Ian Timms. I think Timms is shot to bits, really. I know you said he was a pretty decent amateur, Steve, but every time
excellent amateur. He's 5 times Irish national champion, I think, light heavyweight.
Is Flatley any relation to Michael Flatley of Riverdance fame?
I've no idea. But no, every time I see Tim's step up of sorts, he gets knocked out. Sam Maxwell, he's excellent. He is a super lightweight. He's in another step up against Kane Baker. I think Kane Baker, last time you might have seen him, Steve, got beat off Gary Cully on a Frampton undercard.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and Lyndon Arthur as well, 10-0 light heavyweight prospect. He's trained by Pat Barrett, in with Charles Adamu. Now, I think he did Adamu box. Was it
George Groves?
Was it Groves? Yeah, George Groves.
He boxed. Did he box Carl Froch back in the day?
He did. He fought. I'm sure he fought.
Yeah.
I'm sure he fought Groves on the Hay Ruiz undercard for the Commonwealth. I'm pretty sure.
He's also boxed. He's boxed Isaac Chilemba.
Who beats him?
2004. He fought Carl Froch 14 years ago.
Yeah. So I mean, don't
Friggin'
get
hell.
me wrong. I mean, he's 40 now, but he's only been stopped once, and I think this is a decent step up for Lyndon Arthur. This, I don't think it's that bad a fight. Like it's a 6-rounder. Arthur's 10-0. Adamu will give him the rounds, and he will pose questions that basically he's not, had to answer in the previous 10 fights. Aside from that, there's a couple of prospects making the debuts. Alex Dickinson's in with David Howe. He's a big heavyweight, been sparring Fury, but no. Overall, I think this is a real good card. There's fucking hell, Flanagan Hooker as well. I think Terry will beat Maurice Hooker. I think we'll see a new Flanagan. He's a big bloke at the weight anyway, and he was having to cut down to lightweight. Doesn't have to take that extra few pounds off, and I think Flanagan will look good doing it. I think he'll stop Hooker in rounds 8 to 10, and I think it'll be a decent victory for him. But no, overall, real good card. I'm impressed with it. I think there's a lot of good trade fights. Like the little 6 and 8 rounders that you may look at on face value and think, oh yeah, they're okay, but they can really build a decent card together. So no, overall, really happy. Main event, which is Fury Seferi. It is what it is. I think everybody wants to see Tyson come back, look good, get rid of him early. But no, it's a card that we're looking forward to next week.
I've got World Boxing News on my Twitter just flashed up here, and it says exclusive. Martin Murray has been offered Cody Davis in a catchweight bout as a Billy Joe Saunders replacement. So Martin Murray has been offered Cody Davis. I have absolutely no idea who this Cody Davis is.
Oh, I do. Cody Davis he's a Welsh guy. He is, bugger, is he trained by... Do you know what? I think Salas trains him now. He used to be trained by...
He's 4-0 with 2 knockouts.
Yeah, he used to be trained by Gary Lockett, and he moved, and he's basically part of, like the Haymaker camp now with Joe Joyce and that Michael Bennett Page. Yeah.
He's got a fight arranged on the next Joe Joyce undercard at York Hall on 15th of June.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'll tell you what, if that offer has come from the Davis camp, then that has not come from. There'll be some legs in that, and it'll be interesting to see whether Martin Murray takes this. It'll be really interesting. This is a huge step up for Cody Davis as well, so I think keep an eye out on that one. I'll be surprised if it goes ahead. I think Murray will go, well, why do I need to fight this guy? But I can't see where else Murray goes, really. But yeah, it'd be an interesting one. Definitely one that's come out of the blue as well.
Donny, I want to talk to you about Tyson Fury. I don't have any questions for you, unfortunately, so I'm just going to... you know what, Donny? You know what I'm going to do, actually, with you? Instead of asking you a question about Tyson Fury, I'm going to let you set the question. So if I say to you, Donny, Tyson Fury, that's the answer. What's the question? If Tyson Fury is the answer, what's the question, Donny?
What is the saddest waste of talent in the last 2 years? But no, to be honest, though, I know that sounds harsh, but I'm actually a big Fury fan. And what I'm hoping is that, you know, against an opponent who he should take care of, he comes out and, like Ozzy said, he looks the part and he puts him away, and he gets the hype back up again. There's no question that he has the skills, I think, to honestly beat anyone in the heavyweight division, or at least he did the last we saw of him back in 2015 when he beat a better version of Vladimir Klitschko than Anthony Joshua even beat, in my opinion. And so, you know, I just think it's really important that that he goes out and he does what we all hope and expect he can do, and it'll do amazing things for the heavyweight division if he does that, because instead of making it this, you know, what you might call a dipolar heavyweight division where the only fight now is you know, Joshua and Wilder. Now you insert this third guy into the mix, who at least originally was in fact the only guy in the mix because he was originally the Lineal champion. And to have three guys with really legitimate credentials to their name, you know, in the mix to face each other is going to really, really rejuvenate heavyweight boxing. And you know, unlike Wilder and unlike Joshua, Fury really has, as they say in the UK, he has the banter, right? And he has the ability to get headlines, even if they're not necessarily headlines that put him in a very positive light. But he has the ability to generate controversy. He has the ability to anger people and to make them feel emotions, whether they be positive or negative. And I mean, I'm just really looking forward to a heavyweight division that has a good version of Tyson Fury in it. And I think that he can take one small step to next week, improving that you know, that he hasn't gone anywhere and that he's still a very good version of himself. And if he is, and he maybe follows this up with another legitimate good performance against another legitimate contender, I think that he can really show, you know, that he's back and we'll be ready for the big fights.
Who's that in the background, Donny? Are you about to be assaulted again?
No, that's somebody else.
Oh, right. Anyway, let's move on. Andrew,
Yes.
have you got any interest in Flanagan Hooker?
No, I listen. See, to be honest, I know fuck all about Morris Hooker. Actually, I know he fought in one of the undercards. Some top.
He fought on the undercard of the Mayweather.
Thanks for that, Donny. Cheers for that. Aye, so nah, I'm not that bothered about it.
Basically, he got a gift. He got his ass totally kicked, and he got a total gift. I wouldn't doubt that they're bringing him over here thinking that he's an easy touch with a good record. He fought on the Mayweather-McGregor undercard. That's what it was.
Didn't they try to build him up at one point, and he fought against Perez on the HBO, and he looked like shit, and everyone was embarrassed, and they never had him anywhere near it again.
Performances. He's had a couple of bad performances. I mean, I don't think they're bringing him over here unless they think he's going to get beat.
Okay, right. Let's move on because it's 10 o'clock. I want to finish up now with Bellew of the Weeks. We did have a question in from Kevin Chase. I might leave that till next week, Kevin, because it is a good question. Or I might get to it after Bellew's, depending on how we're fixed for time. But I do want to mention, obviously, Brendan Ingle very briefly and Dean Francis. Two sad deaths. Francis was a very good fighter in particular, and he obviously had troubles. He's like me. He had troubles with the right arm. I've always had shoulder troubles and had to have it operated on a few years ago. Kept on popping out all the time. Maybe that ended my boxing career early. Who knows? But more seriously, Dean Francis, the guy had a lot of...
a great boxing career derailed by furious wanking.
Furious wanking and boxing politics, Donny, the men in dark suits, the cabal, they kept me down. But seriously though, Andy, Dean Francis, one of the problems with him was he had a lot of shoulder problems and he wasn't able to fulfill his vast potential. He was a very talented fighter and taken at 45 years of age, something like that. Him and Brendan Ingle, 2 deaths, in the British boxing scene, sad stuff.
It was, mate. I mean, I remember we talking about it actually. I mean, beating Tony Oakey, for example. He was British Commonwealth light heavyweight champ. I think maybe even beat Oval McKenzie at some point. I think it might have been an early knockout, if I remember rightly. Actually, Hastings Rosani was always good to kind of, for a few rounds. Tommy Eastwood, but it was, as you say, the shoulder was a big issue. He did try to come back on the. Well, I don't know if it's defunct now, but the old prize fighter tournament, he came back in the quarterfinals, and he got, I think he might have got knocked out in the semis actually, and then he was out the ring for the best part of 3-4 years. It was actually tragic actually to see like a guy that young, and again it's again testament as to how fragile or slender the cord of life is actually sometimes, because younger guys listen to me. Okay, listen, I'm pushing 40 in the next couple of years, right? There's younger guys in this listen to this podcast who believe they're fucking invincible and all the shit that they do, and that I've only just started realizing since my daughter was born 5 years ago as to how fucking slender life is, and you always want to kind of leave something behind for your kids, and that if in the whole intents and purposes something happens to you, you want to make sure your kids are left behind. But to get hit with the big C at early 40s and that, where your life generally should be speaking as you should be kind of coming towards or planning for your retirement in the next 15 to 20 years and stuff, but to go with cancer and die at age 44, and that it's no age at all. I mean, it's tragic to think that 44 is literally like I'm 7 years away from that, and it's again you just don't know what kind of hand you're going to get dealt in life. So it's tragic to see, and obviously Dominic Ingle, if I can go into him and stuff, what he did for some of the fighters in Sheffield, and that was unbelievable. I mean, to think if you watch Johnny Nelson, especially young guys who listen to me right now, if you go and watch Johnny Nelson, some of his fights and that, to call himself an entertainer was absolutely travesty. But at the end of the day, is Johnny Nelson was a product of the gym. He was the guy who, he would go in there as a sparring partner, get his absolute cunt kicked in, but he kept going, and it was all testament to Brendan Ingle. He gave him the confidence to keep going. He witnessed Prince Nazim Hamed get into fights in the street and that, where he believed that that could be something. And look, we want to be to become Ryan Rhodes, Kell Brook. All the fighters, Junior Witter. I don't know if Junior Witter was in that gym at the time, and that. You got Errol Graham. Some amount of fighters passed through there. It was they call him. Is it Lloyd Hunnigan? Did he go through that gym? Or was it Errol Graham I'm thinking about? It might be Errol Graham I'm thinking about.
Errol Graham, yeah. Errol Graham.
He had a kind of mental breakdown recently and stuff. But yeah, I don't know what happened with Brendan actually, but obviously it's just an absolute shocker in Dean Francis actually. As I say, 44-year-old to go out like that, a guy who was very, very talented, didn't realise his full potential, and it just to go out with cancer like that, it was just it's one of the worst things actually. I think it's going to be in the later years, shall we say, is it's one of the things that I just never want to be diagnosed with is with cancer, because A, you think it's a death sentence. B, you're like, how do you react to it? You react like a prick and like say that's it, that's me done, or you do what he did and say I'm going to beat this for my kids and my family and that, and in the end he couldn't do it. But it's just it's sad, So rest in peace, Dean Francis.
Yeah, it's a tough road. Well said, Andy, man. My missus was battling it last year. Like, she's come through, thankfully. So, and we still give you pods on a Sunday evening, boys. You know what I mean? But now, Andy's right, everything he says, like. But we'll move on, I think, gentlemen. Let's go on to the Value of the Weeks, more light-hearted stuff. Anyway, David Martin has got in touch on Twitter. He's talking about Billy Joe Saunders. Hope you shit on Billy Joe Saunders, he says. I never wanted to see the Murray fight in the first place, but once you've signed up and then sold it to the fans, then just get in there and deal with business. 100% agree with you, Mr. Martin. Thanks for listening. You are 100% correct. Right, let us go on to Value of the Weeks then, gentlemen. We've still got Andy on the call, we've still got Ozzy, and we've still got Donny. We've had a few crackers this week. Quiet week for boxing, but a strong week for Value of the Weeks. First one was sent in by a friend of ours. It was regarding a boxer called Tommy Sweet T. Jacobs. He boxes on a BIBA license, which is a long story, but BIBA is this British and Irish Boxing Association. They're like an unlicensed rival to the British board. They haven't really got the amount of fighters to be any rival, really. They bring in Hungarians and what have you. It's the Maltese Boxing Commission anyway. And this is an old post by Gianluca Di Caro, who is the head of the BIBA and a walking Value of the Week at times. He put out this press release, and trust me, the introduction is well worth it, about this Tommy Sweet T. Jacobs, and I'm going to read it out verbatim. This is Gianluca Di Caro of the Malta Boxing Commission writing this. He said, Jacobs, a former GB international amateur star, only turned professional in March 2016, and in that short time he has already secured 3 professional titles. What titles are they, you might think? Well, Mr. Di Caro continues, the British Masters title, the International Masters title, and the World Boxing Foundation WBF European Championship title. And Mr. Jacobs is confident that he will be adding the WBF International crown on just his 9th professional fight. Quite the haul, you might think, Andy. Well, it gets better. Let's put this into a little bit of perspective, shall we? Mr. Di Caro continues. More importantly, Jacobs' 8 fights to date have been against prospects, a rarity in the sport these days, and one that sees Jacobs join such luminaries as all-time top 50 pound-for-pound champions Muhammad Ali, Oscar De La Hoya, Bob Fitzsimmons, Andre Ward, and Joe Gans, who also only fought prospects with positive records in their first 9 professional contests.
Did he say all that shit? I'm friends with him on Facebook, actually. I'll need to go and fucking have a chat with him about that. That's just pure age.
You know, it's funny. Maybe he thought it was like golf or something when he saw the Masters in there. He thought the guy that had reached the pinnacle of his sport.
If it was Jack Nicklaus or some shit like that, you know.
So to compare a man who has won the prestigious British Masters, International Masters and WBF European in his first 8 bouts with the likes of Ali, De La Hoya, Fitzsimmons, Ward and Gans, amazing. It's going to be hard to beat that one, Andy, from Gianluca Di Caro.
Oh, it's amazing, mate. It's absolutely, banteristic. I actually, as I said, I follow some of that stuff on BIBA. Less said the better, I think.
I think so. I think we'll move on, gentlemen. Right, this next one has been sent in by Ashley Cates over on the Facebook page. He says, I know you tend to push the casual comments to one side, but this is surely worth a mention. From Chairman Meow over on on Twitter, it was actually. Chairman Meow said, I have Tony Bellew with a 6th round KO over Tyson Fury. Scorecards have Bellew way ahead. Several knockdowns will have already occurred in prior rounds. Basically, Bellew versus Hay. Repeat. That sounds like it could be a bit of a troll. Big Baby Miller is on the train. Greg Cross has nominated him. He's calling for a fight between him and Manuel Char. I'm willing to go over to Germany, says Big Baby Miller. He's getting a bit desperate by the sound of it. Sean Stevenson has nominated Deontay Wilder. Spreading my thoughts throughout the universe like semen or bomb squad, says Deontay Wilder. He then went on to talk about moving down to cruiserweight. Spreading his thoughts like semen around the universe. What a lovely thought, Deontay. You've been nominated by Sean Stevenson for Bellew of the Week.
Oh, yeah, that actually would have been a more appropriate tweet for Adrian Broner.
Has he had any kids lately, Donny, or has he slacked off? What's the update?
Wait, what was that?
On Broner, has Broner had any children lately, or is he slackened off?
No more that I know of. Maybe he discovered Trojans. I don't know. But yeah, no.
The fuck is Trojans, by the way? Is that Durex?
Also would be another good candidate for that tweet. But actually, as far as I know, Wilder only has a child by one woman, so that's good.
Congratulations, Deontay, on having a child with one woman. Richard Allen has nominated Sporting Icons. It's fast becoming Bellew of the Week speciality, this Sporting Icons. Would you pay pay-per-view for Dillian White versus Luis Ortiz at the O2 in the UK? I would, says Sporting Icons. Yeah, we'll all come around your house then, I think. Friend of the pod, Dave Allen, friend of Aussie anyway, has been tweeting. Please ignore my tweets, he said, for the last 6 hours and wait for French TV to announce Tony Yoka's next opponent. Not a clue who he is. My French isn't very good. Dave Allen getting busted here. Justin Hedlow has nominated him. He's talked a bit too much Aussie, and he revealed the fact he was fighting Tony Yoka, and the Banter King himself had to reel it in because he wasn't supposed to announce it, apparently. So a Bellew of the Week nomination for him.
He's out of shape for the fight as well.
Think he might be coming a little bit podgy?
He is. No, I want to talk about this because I don't get the guy. Like, he bangs on about he deserves opportunities at Commonwealth belts and British belts. Why? You have not beaten anybody. Nobody. Your best win is Tom Dallas or David Howe. But because he boxed Dillian White and because he boxed Luis Ortiz, and then he got an undeserved opportunity against Lenroy Thomas and blew that because he came in out of shape, people think, oh, he thinks, yeah, I deserve an opportunity. And his following is unbelievable. Like, I saw a poll and he was something like, who will win the fight? Tony Yoka, Dave Allen. It was like 80% of the vote to Dave Allen. And you think, who is voting for this guy? And he's out of shape. And he said himself, like, he'll be going over there. No pressure on him to, like, he's just going to go over there and do his best. Yeah, fine. But if he was in some sort, well, I'd say if he was in some sort of shape, he doesn't have a chance of beating him. And then he's like, he compared him, basically said, oh, look at Johnny Nelson's record and things like that. But for me, this guy turned down a very, very good offer to fight Daniel Dubois with a 9-week camp behind him. And instead, his manager went back and wanted a package which came to £100,000. 60k as a person, 40k in tickets, or the other way around, or something like that. Huge money for essentially an area English level fight or something like that. So I just don't get the guy, and like I said, he'll probably get beat off Tony Yoka, who I don't think has pulled up any trump since he's turned over as pro, to be honest. I know he's a gold medalist, but that was a robbery against in the final. But no, I just don't get Allen's agenda, to be honest. I mean, people say he's a fighter, he should set the fights, but in my opinion, if you're gonna, you know, like, look to take fights at short notice, you need to constantly be in shape, not going over there overweight and things like that, and doing yourself, you know, like knocking yourself down. Like, at least if you're going over in shape, you've got every chance. But if you're not in shape, then it's a 10-rounder. Who knows? It could blow up after 4 or 5 rounds.
That's Dave Allen, everybody. Aussie's made his feelings known. David Farmer has nominated Eddie Hearn for saying that Dillian White is the 3rd best heavyweight in the world. I like White, says David, but fuck me. Fuck's sake, Eduardo. Excuse me. Turbo Jackson has also nominated Eduardo. He's put up a picture of his hair. I would like to put a question to the pod. Is Eddie rocking a wig or some plugs, or a combination of both? Starting to
plugs. He said plugs. He said booking Botox as well, man. Fuck.
What is this, plugs, Andy? I know that you're a man of little hair like myself. What's this? What is this, plugs? How's it work?
No idea, mate. Because you know why? I am comfortable in my own skin. If I lose my hair, I do not give a fuck. I was going bald at 13 due to my high testosterone levels. Yes, this is true, gentlemen. I have no fucking clue. I mean, it could be like grass. You can get it embedded and stitched into your head with fucking synthetic grass or fucking hair to grow next to it. I don't give a fuck. The simplest fact is this. It's clear you've got a man who is very, very sensitive as to how he looks, how he grooms himself. It's basically an absolute metrosexual, you know, end of the day is, you know, to go and get Botox. What are you now, Eddie? Mid-40s? Get hair plugs put in just to make yourself feel semi-sexual to the ladies and all that sort of shit. Just grow old gracefully, you fucking dick. And as for his fans on YouTube chat and stuff like that, I don't give a fuck, you know.
Donnie, have you ever considered a wig or a thatch or a hair transplant or anything of that nature?
No, my hair is still going strong, you know, and even the little patches that are, you know, a little weak, you know, we can cover them up and whatnot. I mean, I may get there, but I'm not there yet, thankfully.
Okay, final few Bellew of the Week nominations. Willie and Oz has nominated 7 News Brisbane, which is a Brisbane news channel, as it says in the title. Despite being the world champion, Jeff Horn is seen as the outsider in New Vegas. So forget about Las Vegas. I don't know if they're going to go over and cover the fight or not, but 7 News Brisbane reporter will be going out to New Vegas, wherever that is. Aaron Staples, a mate of his, bumped into O'Hara Davis recently in a bar, and O'Hara isn't happy. Aaron Staples, his mate, apparently got out a photo of Gemma Collins, who appears to be a rather rotund lady with long blonde hair.
She's fat as fuck, mate. Just rotund. She's fat as fuck.
She has a baps out in this photo that I've seen of this Miss Collins, and he showed this to O'Hara Davis, apparently, this guy, and O'Hara wasn't too happy. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but it seems interesting anyway, Andy.
I'm accepting DMs, mate, so send it to me.
Okay, we'll do. I'll put it up on the Facebook page.
I don't care. I don't care if they're slim, fat, short, tall, fat, or thin, blonde, brunette. You know, they all need the Andy love.
Tony McFrancis has been in touch. He says he has nominated Slimeball Eddie Hearn for saying in an interview that Eddie would work with other promoters. I've approached him several times and no contact, says Tony, who is Kettering's #1 promoter. And that is all the nominations that I have. Any of you gentlemen have any to throw in?
Yeah, I've got one. It is the man himself, Dr. Hitman.
Oh, I love this guy.
Yeah, I think we all... I've actually forgot the guy's name.
Artief Daniel.
Artief Daniel, yeah, that's it. So he's been taking his belt on tour. The Royal Boxing Organisation Intercontinental title. And he went and stood outside Old Trafford in Manchester, Man United's stadium, 11-3, and he wants calling out all the super welterweights in the country now. So he's win now. He's there. RBO, and he's taking the belt on tour. Like I said, posing for pictures outside Old Trafford with his fans and things like that. And he's ready for the big fights.
That's what I like about him, though, to be fair, Ozzy. A lot of people would just sort of go in their ivory tower, but the Hitman goes out, mixes with the people, shows the belt, allows people to take photos. You've got to give him respect for that.
Yeah, what can I say? He is a man of the people. Like I said, he's not had it easy. He went out on the road as well, recovered from a tough loss against Chris Jenkinson, took himself on the road, the Road Warrior, Pavel Herman, Patrick Philo, Joseph Holub, Richard Hovarth and Richard Walter. Well-known names, you know, like amassed all between them. I think it was 6, 8, 10, 15 wins over 150 losses. Tough opponents. He got a majority decision against one of them. And then Richard Walter, he knocked out in the Shizenyi Sport Hall in Solnok.
We could be seeing him and Prince Patel featuring on a card together.
They already have.
What?
They already have. Prince Patel, Artief Daniel, and Danny Williams all share the card together. It was the Fight Night Show promotion in Hungary. Danny Williams, first round KO of Martin Stensky, 3-42, for the Global Boxing Federation World Heavyweight title. And obviously on the night, that was when Artief Daniel won his RBO Intercontinental belt, and Prince Patel demolished of another debutant, Zolt Koksic. So, what can I say? It's all happening out in Hungary.
Thanks for that, Ozzy. Genuinely, that's class. I really like this guy, and I like Patel as well. Any nominations from you, Andy?
Yeah, WBA, mate, just for no. Obviously, it's been a quiet week. And that I spent about just before the German car started looking at the minimum weight division. I was looking through some fights and stuff. Obviously, I had a look at the Hirioto Kaiguchi fight, and just feel like the fights for Japan a couple of weeks back and stuff. So I was watching the kind of minimum weight fights, and I decided I was going to do something. I picked out some names across the 4 sanctioning bodies that I've never heard of, stuck them on YouTube to find out what fights came up, saved those fights, etc. Had a quick look at the records to see who should be kind of challenging for world titles, so to speak. And I came across 2 names, naturally, belt ranked with the WBA. Now, I'll tweet out the records. I was posting to you guys last night and stuff, but one of these names, a guy from Panama, Azil Valara. Okay, he's 14-0 with 3 draws, 11 knockouts. He is ranked 6th with the WBA, right? You should see his record. His last 5 opponents, I'll read out the records. They were 10-2, 1-8, 3-3, 2-0-1, 16-21-0. Right, this guy's ranked 6th with the WBA. Oh, it gets better. Ricardo Astuvelaka, he's 17-0 with 4 knockouts, 29-0 from Peru. Never fought in a scheduled 10-rounder, never fought in a 12-rounder. His last 5 opponents' records is, and I quote, 1-5, 1-4, 3-8, 1-6, 1-4, 0-3-1, 0-0-1, 0-0-1, debut, 2-5-0, 6-3-1, right? Okay, so that's his last 10 opponents.
Sounds like you're reading out his fucking phone number, Andy.
He is ranked 3rd with WBA minimum weight. I think, Steve, if I don't know what age your sons are or whatever, mate, but I think if they can weigh in at 100 and what is straw weight, 105 pounds, if they can weigh in that or below, mate, I think they get ranked with WBA top 15 pretty rapidly.
They're 10 and 6, and then the wee girl, she's 3. She's more aggressive than a lot of them, so I'd say she'd have a good shot at it.
105 pounds, mate. Put her in there with fucking Wang Heng, me in with him. I tell you, put Floyd Mayweather's record at fucking jeopardy because she could come back and tie it if she was to beat Wang Heng, but who knows?
Talking of Floyd's record, only one thing I can say about that.
I'm a gorilla, I'm a dog. I'm a dog, I'm a gorilla. I talk to no shit.
Good old Dave, he's left us for this evening to have Italian. Donny, do you have any nominations quickly before we finish up?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, Ozzy, who are you going for this week? I'm going for Gianluca Di Caro.
Well, I've actually got another one, actually. It's a late one. It's actually for Mercedes, the car maker, who have since sponsored Dr. Hitman after his title win. So they've obviously been wowed by that, and they're giving him a free car.
So the joke's on us, basically.
Well, yeah. What can I say? Yeah, but no, I'm going with. I'm actually going with Dr. Hitman. I think he deserves another win, a prestigious award, a weekly award, and it can just build on the RBO belt that he's already won, and he can perhaps parade both awards around, a belt and an award around, and pose for pictures with the fans like he does. So yeah, Dr. Hitman for me.
I forgot another nomination for me as well. Hot off the heels of me getting charged 30-odd quid for ringing Tom Satas, I got another £30 bill in during the week, and I was ripping, thinking, I've made a balls up. And they reminded me that we rang Jerry Belmontes a few weeks ago as well. So April was an expensive month for me. So if any American guests or anything are coming on in future, I'm going to have to find a different way of getting in touch with them.
That's Gabe's fault. That's Gabe's fault. I told you this, right? See if you use Skype, it costs you less to phone America, right? I remember we interviewed Mark Murray on Skype, me and Kurt, and it cost us, we had him on the phone for about 15 minutes. It cost us almost near £15. 15 fucking quid.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson, Andy. Who are you going for?
Bieber's looking good, mate. I'm going to go with them as well.
Luca Di Caro, yeah.
Yeah.
That's 2 for them. Donny, what about you?
I was just going to say, I think, 15 quid for 15 minutes. I think Martin Murray should have talked dirty to us.
Was that 15 minutes longer or shorter than he would have lasted with Billy Joe Saunders, Donny?
I don't know. I'm going with the first one, actually, the headliner that we had on the Billy of the Week. It was how do you say
Gianluca Di Caro.
Yeah, the guy who compared the 4-0 fighter to Muhammad Ali and Henry Armstrong.
WBF European Continental title.
Way he won the Masters. You got to give it to him. You got to give it to him. He won the Masters. No. Yeah. All right. That's my vote.
Congratulations to you then, Luca. You have won the Belly of the Week, and well done to you indeed. Final thing of the evening before we finish up, Andy has actually reminded me, I was looking at his Twitter feed there, and he was talking about Paul Hodgkinson fighting this week so many years ago. I think it was 1990. That actually reminded me, Andy, I'd gone through during the week, done my due diligence, as Donny would say, and thinking it was going to be a quiet week, not realising we were going to do 2.5 hours without it. I went through fights that happened during this week. We're not going to comment on them because we've gone long enough. I'm just going to read them out anyway because I did the work, so I might as well. So on June the 1970. I've gone by the Saturday, by the way. Sorry, 2nd of June. So in 1970, we had Willie Warren, one-time Marvin Hagler opponent, defeated Jerry Pellegrini. Now, these might not be the biggest fights of the week, but ones of interest. Paul Hodgkinson in 1990, on June the 2nd, 1990, lost against Marcos Villasana for the vacant World Boxing Council featherweight title. Hodgkinson, decent fighter he was back in the day. That was in the GMEX Centre in Manchester. He based himself out of Belfast quite a lot, actually, did Hodgkinson. Then on the 2nd of June, 1995, Del Bryan defeated Gary Logan for the British welterweight title. Mark Prince was on the undercard. And also on the undercard, another fight of note was... no, it wasn't actually this card, so apologies, ignore it. I even said that. It was on Friday, the 2nd of June, 1995. Eric Morales defeated Armando Castro. Morales was 15-0 at the time. And this was for the World Boxing Council Mundo Hispano Super Bantamweight title. So that's one maybe for Gianluca Di Caro in the future, the Mundo Hispano title. On the 2nd of June, 2000, Omar Shaker defeated Glenn Johnson, the Road Warrior himself, Johnson. It was about 4 years later. I think he was busy knocking out Roy Jones Jr., so losing to Omar Shaker didn't do him too much harm. 2nd of June 2003, Sam Solomon defeated Nader Hamdan. Hamdan was 32-0. This was the big fight in Australia back in the day. And also on the undercard, Danny Green, who was 15-0, knocked out Jason Delisle, who I believe went on to challenge Clinton Woods for the IBF light heavyweight title. The 2nd of June 2004, Junior Witter won the vacant European super lightweight title, knocking out Salvatore Battaglia. And Carl Froch, 12-0 at the time on the undercard, won the Commonwealth super middleweight title against Canada's Mark Woolnow. Wins on the undercard for the likes of David Walker, Steve Spartacus. Anybody remember him? I think his real name was Stephen Smith, but he couldn't register it because there was already a Stephen Smith on the British board. June 2006, got to the last two here, by the way. Mike Alvarado, 13-0, was busy beating Maximino Cuevas. And Jesus Soto Carras, who was 13-3-2 at the time, beat Vince Phillips, the old veteran himself, who was 48-10. He knocked him out, did Soto Carras. And finally, on June the 2nd, 2006, Chad Dawson defeated Eric Harding over in California. And that's all I've got. Yeah, I just wanted to read them out. Go ahead, Andy.
Nikolai Valiev beat Owen Beck in 3 rounds in 2006 to retain.
Owen, what the heck, Beck?
Yep. Troy Dorsey, good fighter back in the day. 1 round knockout of Alfred Rangel. Wins the vacant IBF featherweight title. Tommy Hearns beat Virgil Hill over 12 rounds. I think it was his second reign as world light heavyweight title holder. Glenn McCrory won the IBF cruiserweight title against Patrick Lumumbu. Graciano Roccagiani, he won a 15-round decision over Nicky Walker to retain the IBF super middleweight title. And I don't know, you need to be roughly about our age, Steve, to remember this fight. Lupe Pintor, Carlos Zarata, 15-round decision victory for Pintor. Absolute fucking robbery. Carlos Zarata should have won that fight. Absolute disgraceful decision. I had it wide for Zarate, like something like 145 to 139 or something like that. Oscar Alvarado knocked out Koji Wajima 15th round for a world light middleweight title in Tokyo. And who was the other one actually? Jack Johnson, 1909. He beat Tony Ross, no decision victory actually. So Ross could only win the title if he knocked out. Obviously, back in the day, you had these fights who were actually arranged by. So if you went to distance, regardless of if you won the fight, the title would stay with the champion. So anyway, it was basic class, so no decision. Tony Ross in Pittsburgh. Ross could only win the heavyweight title by scoring a knockout. And
those were the days. The one I was looking for and I couldn't find it was on the Paul Hodgkinson undercard in 1990. John Fury, father of course of Tyson, who was 6-2-1 at the time, went in against the self-styled journeyman Michael Murray, and he lost to Murray. So Gypsy John Fury was fighting back then as well. So yeah.
Happy birthday to Jean-Marc Mormick and Sven Otka.
Oh, there you go. Right, I think that's where we shall leave it. Thanks to Andy Patterson, who you heard closing us out there. Thanks to Donny Baseball as well, and to Ozzy Smith. You want to say something there, Ozzy? Sorry.
Well, yeah, I've got this. Am I doing a quick bet of the week? Or...
Oh yes, sorry, Ozzy. Carry on. I forgot all about it.
Well, I've had a quick look. Not all the fights are up at the moment, you know, for the undercards and things like that. But one price that does stand out, it was pointed out in the chat before. Ryan Doyle is 13-2 to beat Reece Bellotti. Now, for me, that's overpriced. I thought you'd see Doyle at around 3-1, 5-2, something like that. So 13-2. It's an outside shot, but he's a more than a live dog in this. He's fit, healthy. He's enjoyed training, enjoyed camp, and he's going to win. So as an outside punt, I think Ryan Doyle at 13-2 is definitely worth looking at. And aside from that, let me see if I can just get a quick price on a Flanagan stoppage.
While you're looking for that, Aussie, John Evans has indeed sent me the picture of the Dr. Hitman meeting with Mercedes-Benz with his RBO belt.
What can I say? Like I said, a belated runners-up to Mercedes in the Bellew of the Week for buying into the RBO hype. What can I say? But no, there's no price around for the Flanagan stoppage yet. So we'll just have to go with the Ryan Doyle price at 13-2. Overpriced for me, and I definitely think he's a more than live dog in there, and I'll certainly be backing that at that price.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Aussie. Aussie Smith out there, everybody. I'd almost forgotten about our new betting feature, but hopefully I'll remember in the future. Thanks, Aussie. Andy, Donny, Dave the Hater Lowback was on with us as well. And also thank you to Billy Nelson and Jack Catterall for both joining us on this evening. I've been Steve Wellings. Thank you.
Good luck.